All right, all right. We are starting it up for our Sunday podcast. It is super, super cool to finally be here this Sunday to talk about this topic that's near and dear to my heart, which is love, specifically radical love. And we have a group of people today that are going to talk about radical love. We're going to talk about what love is to each other and what radicalism is to each other and how those two combine, or if they do at all. So not everybody who said they were going to make it today has been able to make it, but the people who did make it are here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them in. And let's make sure. There we go. All right. So here's our cast of wisdom miners today, this Sunday. Today's topic is. Oh, hold on a second. Oh my God, I'm so bad at everything. There we go. Radical love. Boom. Okay. We are starting. If people roll in late, that's okay. So what I'm gonna do, even though some of y'all have been on here before, I'm gonna go ahead and have everybody introduce themselves, and I'll call on y'all one at a time. Oh, is the category not changed? Okay, well, hold on, let me change that. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. Let's see here. Right. Perfect. Oops. All right. Podcast. All right. It takes my computer forever to do even the smallest things while I'm casting, while I'm streaming, so it'll take a second. So yeah, while we're waiting for this to change, wait, why didn't it change? Podcast. You can do it, computer. I believe in you. You can change the title. I know it's so hard, computer. I believe in you. While we're waiting for my computer to accomplish this simple task, which might take, 20, 30 minutes, because it's old, let's go ahead and start the introductions. Johnny Blaze, why don't we go ahead, start with you, introduce yourself, and then when you introduce yourself, I would like to ask everybody that introduces themselves to also describe, and this is a tall order, so I get it, what love means to you. Just love. Not radical love, but just love.
Well, my name's Johnny. I'm a bit of a shaman. I'm a spiritual healer. And when I say spiritual healer, I don't use spiritual energy, although I do use love energy. I use psychedelics and love to heal people of trauma, depression, and addiction. What I do is very real. This is not some new age nonsense. I've healed myself. I've healed my friends. Love is a very powerful energy to utilize. It's very healing. It will resolve a lot of problems for you very slowly. And what does love mean to me? I'm a psychonaut. I've had these extraordinary experiences with psychedelics where I've come into contact with, like, for lack of a better word, divine love entities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they radiate love. And when you're in their presence, all you feel is divine love energy. And the first time I experienced that energy, I thought to myself, oh my God, this is why heroin addicts get approved for an ayahuasca ceremony, because this shit heals.
Mm-hmm.
This shit heals everything that's wrong. This shit heals depression. It heals addiction, anxiety. It heals all the ails us. It heals trauma, right? That's what love is to me. Love is healing energy. Healing energy. But how do we show love? We show love with each other, with our partners we're close to, our homies. We can hug and kiss on the cheek. The people we're intimate with, we kiss on the mouth and embrace.
Mm-hmm.
We show love sexually.
Mm-hmm.
People we don't know, we can show love by just greeting them in the street, just by saying hello. Right?
Mm-hmm.
By lift them up when we say good, by acknowledging their existence, just saying good morning, so we can change their entire day. That's how we show love to people that aren't close to us. And that's what love is to me. Thank you, brother.
Right on. That was beautiful. All right. Gbear, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what love means to you.
All right, basis on it. I gotta be out my mindset in the quickest way possible. So I think of some people think of love as the opposite of hate, but I feel like hate is more of an ideology, not even so much an ideology, it's a thought process. I don't think love alone is a thought process. There's so much more to love. I feel like the opposite of love is pain. You know what I'm saying? Pain is something you feel. You feel pain. Pain is, you know, so you can do pain onto others. It's the way you feel. Now, love to me is the complete opposite of that. You feel love. Pain hurts you. Love heals you. I feel like love, you know what I'm saying? You feel that. You feel it. It's a physical feeling as well as it is mental.
I love it. Love it. My computer's literally still struggling to change topic from Phoenix Point to podcast right now. Like it's so embarrassing. All right, Mafia Omar, welcome to the podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what love means to you. You there? There we go. Yeah. Oh.
It also means other things as well, right? But I believe the main part of love, like if you truly love someone, you will sacrifice. The greatest example is I would get to because I have people that I love, right? So I have people that I love that wouldn't appreciate that. So I'm sacrificing impossible for people that I love. Just like I would never actually get into more. Just trying to paint the picture.
Okay, it looks like I made a mistake, and nobody's audio was getting through except mine. So let's correct that really quick. Oh, my stuff is so scuffed. My computer's so slow.
Go to the audio, the mixer settings, and see if you can raise your score out. Because everybody except for you is super, super low. Nobody can hear anything.
Okay, so I do that in Discord.
No, yeah. Wait, no, you do it from the streaming app. There's an audio.
Oh yes, yeah.
A sound option.
What's going on?
It's not there yet.
That's so weird. I don't know why this is all of a sudden not working. It literally was working last week just fine. All right, go and talk. What the heck? Hold on a second, guys. I really apologize. I don't know why this is. All right. How about now? How about now? Check. Can y'all in the audience hear him now? Give me some. Is that working? How about now?
Everybody's super late. Like everybody's at like 10% output for some reason.
That's really weird. You guys are full volume on my end. I feel like this is exactly like the kind of challenges in the world that we're going through, even talking about this. Y'all hear? How about now? Because you got in on my end when you get talking. You there? Can you hear me?
All right, so you need to keep making this figure out.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? You guys can't hear me, can you?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear
Or were you asking chat?
Yeah. Someone else.
No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you though.
You can't hear me? What?
No. Can you hear Omar?
You guys cannot hear me. Is that true? Check.
Now I can.
You can hear me?
Oh, no, now we do.
You're back.
Good. Whew.
You're back.
Yeah.
I can hear.
Pulling the stick up. We got this. We got this.
Everything's good. Yeah. Everything's good.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, the volume's fixed.
And I'm still waiting to change the category. My computer still needs to think about this simple change. It's very difficult for my computer to change a few words. Okay, so it seems like nobody heard our introduction. So let's go ahead and start over. It's a little scuffed. It's a little janky. Are you guys cool with starting the introductions over since nobody heard them?
100%.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So let's start. Let's go in reverse.
Maybe it'd be more cool.
Let's start with player. Okay, so player boy. He says I'm player boy. Player boy, love is key in my life. And that's your introduction. Yeah, Rob? Yeah, player?
Yeah, he's shaking his head.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up we'll hit up Omar. Introduce yourself and tell us what love is to you.
Yes, sir. So I am the real Mafia, Omar. And what love is to me is a multitude of things, but the main aspect of love to me is sacrifice. I think that for somebody you love, you sacrifice your overall happiness and your overall enjoyment for them. For example, I wouldn't do something that, my mother would be ashamed of publicly. You know what I mean? Out of respect to her, I'm sacrificing my overall enjoyment for her in life. I believe that sacrifice plays a big role in love and also loyalty and just respect overall. But yeah,
Got it.
sacrifice.
Sacrifice. All right.
All right.
Johnny Blaze, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what love means to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm Johnny. I'm sort of a neo shaman. I am a healer who uses psychedelics to heal trauma, depression, and addiction. My methods are true and effective. People call it hokey and nonsensical, but I've healed people legitimately. My best friend is no longer an alcoholic. I've had other friends who have had healing processes as well, but that's the most significant. So I heal people. I have a white aura. People tell me that I have white aura. I can't see auras myself, but I'm a bit of a neo shaman and psychedelic healer. And what I do is I heal with love. I'm capable of holding a space of love and safety for my friends to be at ease in, and I coach them through meditations, and it's using love energy is how they heal. It's the combination of the space of love I'm able to hold, plus the psychedelics and the meditations that we do. I teach love meditation, stream at my friends' faces and my face when we do these things together. And so love to me, what's the question, what does love mean to me? What love means to me, love created all existence. The most powerful force in the universe is love. The being that created all the universe is a being of love, pure, divine, pure, unconditional love. Love to me is healing. Love to me is the core of all things. When we choose love as our guiding principles, we heal each other. We no longer enact free will and cause damage. When we choose love, we heal the planet, we heal each other, we're good to each other. When we show love and compassion to our fellow, we heal the damage that we do by using free will and causing suffering on each other by being mean and cruel and choosing low vibration emotions. So that's what love is to me. Love is a healing energy. Love is pure and divine. Thank you.
Right on. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. All right. Last
Took my answer.
but not least, Gbear. Introduce yourself. Tell us what love means to you.
It's the man, the myth, the legend, Psych 9, coming out on all streaming platforms. That, Psych 9 playing, but Gbear and what love means to me, you know what I'm saying? It's similar to what my man's Johnny Chainsaw said. You know what I'm saying? He said that love is healing. And I said earlier, y'all couldn't hear me. I said that I believe that love is the opposite of pain. Others might argue hate, but I feel like hate is not so much as a construct, but it's a thought process. You don't really. I mean, you can feel hatred, I assume, but I feel like it's not. You hate someone, you can love someone, but at the end of the day, I feel like love is something you feel more than just. It's something. It's a way, but it's something you feel when you in love with somebody. You constantly feel, and just like how he said, love heals, pain damages. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they are yin and yang with each other. So you get what I'm saying? Love is the creation and the healing and the moving forward. Pain is the holding on to something being damaged and regression. But love is progression. Y'all take care.
Beautifully well said. Beautifully well said. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce myself. Introduce myself now. My name is Legit, and to me, the most root definition I have found for love, and it's like I'm trying to go hella scientific here. Like my definition, I choose it because I think it can be expanded into pretty much everything, which is interconnected creativity. Right? Like, love can be defined in so many different ways by so many different people. And I feel like from all the definitions that I've heard from people in my life and in here, you could point out that interconnection is an inherent and unavoidable facet of love. And also creativity, right? Like sexual love creates, creates pleasure. Agape love creates friendship. Divine love creates connection with something bigger than ourselves, you know? And then, so that's my definition. It's creative interconnection. That's the root of love. And I think that could be expanded to a lot of things. And I want to give a shout out to chat real quick. I want to thank our resident nerd, Katie Ratch, for showing back up again. And Rainy Metro for showing up in chat. Rainy Metro says, you don't experience the hatred within because it doesn't move you the way love can. That's their.
Wait, who said that?
That was Rainy.
Repeat that.
Rainy says you don't
say that one more time.
I will. He says you don't experience the hatred within because it doesn't move you the way love can.
Oh, he's talking about kind of like what I was saying. Oh, my bad. I think it might be a little delay because I had I don't know, maybe I don't know.
It's okay. I think
for me, I think
what we're doing right now is we're trying to push through a lot of barriers and obstacles through our interconnectivity to speak on what we're speaking on today. So I know like that's been representative in the stream being a little scuffed. So there's going to be delays. We're going to do our best to communicate. Okay, so now since the topic is radical love today, what I wanted to do, and I'm not going to call on you guys, but I do want y'all to raise your hand when you want to speak, and I'll call on you so we don't speak over each other. Since the topic is radical love, I wanted to put out there for y'all to speak on what does radical mean to you?
I'll go.
Johnny, lay it on.
Radical means extreme, intense, out of the ordinary. Something that we're not used to. Something that's surprising. Something that just catches you like what the fuck is this, man? And so radical love is what I talk about. Radical love, because I'm talking about like divine spiritual energies and shit that people are just uncomfortable hearing sometimes, you know. So what I talk about is radical. Because some people just aren't prepared for this. They think I'm fucking crazy. Maybe I am. But through my spiritual learning, this is very real. Very concrete, as real as the desk I'm sitting at.
Word.
That's a radical.
Word. So extreme and beyond the ordinary. Is that?
That's right.
Okay. I can get down with that for sure. You know what I wanted to do? You want to? Okay, Gbear, go for it. Lay it on us. What does radical mean to you?
I feel like just the word radical or radical love.
Radical. We're gonna get into radical love. But what does radical mean to you?
Oh, okay, yeah, radical is just an extreme. It's ridiculous. I feel like the word rad came from ridiculous kind of in a way. So like it's just like you said out of the ordinary, but I feel like it's a little bit more than just out of the ordinary. I feel like it's literally like it's insane in a way. Like it's I would say this, it's not deemed right by normal society. That's what I feel like radical is. Like it's beyond like, you know. Beyond societal standards of normal.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said, Gbear.
I mean, that seems very in line with what Johnny said. Yeah. Omar,
yes,
lay it on us.
I agree with both other members who radicalism is the element of risk. There's risk when it comes to being radical. That's the only thing I'd add.
Yeah, no, he's correct. There is the things I do that people look down upon it, right? And the last thing I'm going to do is run afoul of law enforcement because I'm not trying to hurt people. I'm not causing violence. I'm not damaging society. I'm literally healing society.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But my methods are not currently accepted.
it's unfortunate. In 10 or 20 years, it will be. There's progressive legislation that's in support of what I do,
Right.
but I'm just trying to help people. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, like people think hallucinogenics are radical, but
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
they're natural, most of them at least. So
Yeah, I feel
they
like
were here before us.
I feel like what you brought up is really important when you talk about risk, because you guys have all said, we're talking about things that are beyond. When we're talking about radicalism, we're talking about beyond the norm. And how often has something historically that is beyond the norm been met with, challenge, to put it mildly? How often have things involving love throughout history been met with challenge? It looks like Playboy has dropped out of the call. You having a little technical difficulty there, Playboy?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you wanna share your screen with us again to talk to share your thoughts on radicalism?
Yeah, let's give him a few minutes to return and resolve his technical difficulties.
Okay. Yeah, we'll give you a few minutes, bro.
Omar has a very good point though, like the risk associated with it because of radical love can be a dangerous territory.
Word.
Yeah.
This kind of dovetails into the next question, which is, I think y'all are kind of geared to speak on, maybe probably already have a little bit, is, we're talking about love, we're talking about radicalism. So in your perspective, what does radical love mean to you? And just to add another little expansive element to that, what are some examples of radical love that come to mind for you? Period.
I actually, I don't want to take what Gbear said earlier about the show You, but I think that's a really good example. Basically in the show, there's this guy who is he's a sociopathic serial killer. And he falls in love with someone and he like stalks them, and basically what he does is he murders all the toxic people in their life, right? So that's an example of radical love. What I think radical love is the willingness to do anything for what you love, including really horrible things. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, Omar. Yeah, you're right. You're right. May I for 1 second? So, like, what you're talking about, like serial killers and murderers and things like that. I don't mean like in heat of moment, like accidents, like motherfucker like shot somebody. Like, oh no, what have I done? Right? I'm talking people that go out and try to inflict pain. There's a progression in that journey that they're on. Right? It didn't start that way. It didn't start out being hateful and angry, but as they're killing the person, right, they're literally looking for love. All they're looking for is happiness in these actions. Right? It's just a twisted, warped path that they were on that led them to this path of destruction, and it's just. It's not like they just wake up one day and want to go murder somebody. There's a progression of evil and hurt and pain and suffering inside them, and it manifests in gross violence, absolutely disgusting violence where they take somebody else's life.
True.
But it's a progression. It's a sickness. It's.
Go ahead, G. Are you going to speak?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in with what Johnny said, but also while staying on topic as far as like the love part of it. So like what he said as far as like somebody being born, he said something changed in her. I don't know. I feel like sometimes, and it's painful to say, but I feel like just like how science go this chemical imbalance and shit. I feel like some of them things may be of birth, but I don't feel like it's a chemical imbalance. All I think science is a study of what the hell they already see going on in the world. So like it's saying in the Bible, some people we born in sin and shaken iniquity, and then but what he's saying is what happened. Right though, because you born in sin, but it's your parents and it's the people and it's the experiences you go around and help you get right. And as far as with the love in that aspect, I feel like some people don't know how to love, and that could be a lack of never loving before. And because I don't think radical love is always just you want to fight or not fight. You get like, cause I said that example earlier that Omar saying thank you for the shout out, my man, instead of just taking it. But yeah, you and me, but like bro on that show killed her friends, did all this wild stuff, and that was like him loving for the first. I think that was his first time loving. No, because it was a redhead chick,
Mhm.
but he went wild with her too.
Mhm.
Now then, after that, over time, you see the development of this character. It starts to slow down. And that's where what Chainsaw said it's got some proof to it. Because as you learn, and it could be healed. But at the end of the day, what I'm getting at though is radical love. I don't feel like it's just so much as extreme. Radical love can be as far as a narcissism. I mean, a narcissist. Somebody
Fair.
Huh?
Yeah, fair. You're fair. That's fair.
You feel me? It could be somebody that sit there and love somebody, but they ain't loving that person the way the person that they loving would like to be loved. They just radical, but they so in love that this person try to leave. They like nah, but they won't fix nothing. They won't change nothing about themselves for that person to love them.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, you know what I'm saying? But it's still radically in love with that person because you try to leave, it's a problem. You know what I'm saying?
So,
Cheat.
yeah,
Quick.
what's up, Johnny? Go for it.
Yeah, so Omar, kind of what you're talking about, man. There's a saying. It goes something like, "Oh God, I had it. Fuck, I forgot, man. Go ahead. I took too long. I should. No. No, I'm sorry, man. I can't. Fuck, I lost it. I apologize. Please continue.
No, it's all good.
So
Cut me off next time. Sorry.
No worries. So really quick, I wanted to read the dictionary definition. Not that it's all about the dictionary, but I wanted to read the dictionary definition of radical. And the first definition is especially of change or action relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, far-reaching or thorough. The second definition is advocating or based on thorough or complete political or social change representing or supporting an extreme or progressive section of a political party. Right?
Yeah, so I think we should focus on part one of that definition because part two doesn't really apply here. I think part one is...
part one.
Yeah.
Right. So, relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, far-reaching or thorough. Right? So, I'm not going to lie. The introduction of talking about radical love, which has led to like the conversation of like killing people, I want to mind that because I can't really. That doesn't sit well with me. I don't feel like killing people to achieve an end doesn't seem radical to me. I feel like that's kind of the standard MO for most power structures throughout history, right?
Right.
And so many power structures have killed tons of people in the name of love, right? Because their perspective of love is impressed upon others, you know?
That's right. You can look at the early Catholic Church and their missions and things, what they did to the indigenous people. What they were trying to do was spread love, and they used violence to do that, and so it was incorrect. It was an abomination of God's love.
Right. I don't even think they was trying to spread
I agree.
They were trying to spread no, sorry, not.
Well, it's love. True. I mean, in their perspective, it was love. You can look at
they love the love. They got that.
It's basically our society programming us to think that the word radical is a negative word, right? So when you hear the word radical, it gives off a negative vibe,
right?
Word.
Well, I mean, if we're looking,
but that's because of society.
Yeah.
If I could say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I feel like radical in a way is bad when we look at that definition he gave us. You know what I'm saying? Because it said to try to push your ideologies and change somebody. It's basically you trying to change and mold something else to fit that whatever you got going on. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna get all right. So I was with somebody and they done stabbed me before. Wow. She done stabbed. You're not talking about y'all. Nobody y'all know, but I've been by a female out of love. Oh, because I'm ready to dip up out the house. You hear me? Like, it can get like that when you realize, you know what I'm saying, when somebody love you to an extent. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not even, like legit said, it's not always got to be kill. Like I was saying earlier, it could be a narcissist. In a way, you know how they will not, somebody, or not even got to be, you ain't got to put no title on it. It could be somebody that sit there and love the death out of you. But you telling them, I need this from you to feel love. I need this. And that person can sit there and roll their eyes, be whatever, and won't give it to you. But the second you try to leave, they still not even looking at the actions. They just like, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that almost seems like love as an addiction.
That's not love. That's more of a lust. That's like a power and control lust type of low vibration, negative, toxic interaction, right? That's not really. That's more lust than it is love. It's an abomination. That is an abomination of love.
Okay. Well, here's one thing though that I do have to say. I love that you bring that up, legit, because I've literally said in the past that love is just another word for addiction.
Interesting.
Regardless of what you're addicted to, right? So love makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
You get addicted to that feeling. You get addicted to spreading positivity. You get addicted to healing people, right? But I just feel that it's an addiction in the same way that a drug addiction can spur. Because if you're all about love, when you're not feeling it, you'll get withdrawal symptoms in one way or another. You know what I mean? So
to speak on something Omar said earlier. So, given what we're talking about now around love as an addiction, and what you talked about earlier, Omar, around the aspect of sacrifice as it pertains to love, I want to read the dictionary definition of love. Right, now again, this is not an authoritarian reading. It's not like to say this is what love is, but since the dictionary is used as a consistent standard, I just want to throw this out there. So, because I found this interesting. So, in the dictionary, love is defined as, first of all, an intense feeling of deep affection. 2, a great interest and pleasure in something. Okay? So, in both of those definitions, the feeling of pleasure, which is absolutely a component of addiction, which is why, personally, even though it seems counterintuitive, what Omar brought up about sacrifice, I actually think is really, really important in approaching the radical perspective of love, right? Because think about it, like, I don't know how many of y'all have kids. I know some of y'all do, but showing up to love your kid don't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like backbreaking exhaustion, right? And you still show up and do it, right? So I feel like that lends itself credence to what Omar brought up in terms of self-sacrifice and how that can actually be an important consideration for breaking out of like the addiction of love that we brought up. I don't know. What do y'all think about that?
No,
I agree.
I agree. That's real talk.
So love as an addiction. What, man? Addiction causes destruction. Addiction, you lose control of your life.
Not always. People get addicted to working out and eating healthy.
Right, but true addiction causes destruction. When just doing something with frequency, just doing something with intent, with as a hobby, just to do something isn't addiction. Addiction causes destruction. Addiction causes you to lose control of your life, your finances, your relationships. That's what addiction causes.
Not always.
Now look, I would say
when you say addiction, yes. When you say addiction, yes, it does. It causes destruction.
Look, this is what I've been. That's you. Go ahead.
Because you choose your addiction over all other things. Love doesn't do that. Lust does.
Yeah, but if
actual love is a positive experience, addiction is a very negative, toxic experience.
If you're what happens if you're addicted to love though, and you're addicted to spreading positivity?
Then you do it and you annoy people with it. You constantly profess fucking shit all the time. Like you do it obnoxiously and you annoy people with it. That's an assumption. Right? So you try to force people into your ways. That's the addictive aspect of it.
Can I say that's an assumption. I don't think every addict is the same.
Well, I put it like, I was just gonna say not every addict I feel like is the same, but then again, like I feel like maybe there should be another word to describe something that's close to an addiction.
Substance abuse. Substance abuse is close to addiction. Actual addiction, you lose control. Like you instead of being recreational, you're using compulsively. That's the difference.
There's functioning alcoholics, functioning drug addicts that haven't lost control.
I'm aware. That's substance abuse issues.
Are those addicts though? That's what I'm saying. Because my aunt always explained to me. She said an addiction is something that is stopping you from going to work because you rather do what you would do. It's messing up your day-to-day life. I feel like. And then drug abuse I always thought drug abuse was a little bit worse than so much as an addiction, because addiction is like, okay, you just need your fix. You know what I'm saying? You need whatever you addicted addicted to come to you. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like the abuse of it is when you ain't even out of it. You just want to constantly just do whatever you
Mhm.
do. But I don't know. I feel like as far as love, I feel like be saying you addicted to love is a strong word because I feel like an addiction is something that is quite strong in itself. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just. I mean, I get what he's saying. Or you could definitely you can be addicted to love, but I feel like what you were describing as being addicted to love, I don't necessarily would say that that's the. I would say that's being addicted to love. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Real quick,
Yeah.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second. Player Boy informed me he's having computer problems, so he had to dip out. He might come back. Secondly, I want to reach out to and inform chat that my computer is super slow. So if I'm being slow to respond to you, it's not because I'm not paying attention to y'all, chat. It's that my computer is just incredibly slow. Skulls mentioned, Katie Katie Ratch mentioned obsession, and I believe that's in reference to addiction, if I'm not mistaken, right? Skulls World, what's up, Skulls? He said these points really has me thinking, bro. And then Katie also said an addiction to working out is actually really bad. And then I want to bring it back to the conversation, but there's a key distinction here that I want to bring forth for consideration again, because I feel like this is the fulcrum in finding the wisdom and the interconnective tissue of what y'all are talking about, which is that the dictionary defines love as pleasure, and pleasure comes from chemicals, right? So what we define as love, if we project upon that only pleasure, it's gonna create addiction. It can, especially when, like Katie said, we're talking about obsession, right? And it's like you brought up earlier, Gbear, this show where the dude's killing all the people who were messing with his girl. That's obsession as well, right? And it's obsession that creates harm, actual harm, right? Like I would put it out for consideration that love doesn't create harm. That other things can create harm that are perhaps done in the name of love. But I don't know. What do y'all think about that?
I agree with that, absolutely.
I feel like, well, I agree, but I do feel like you can love someone and harm them, and not just in the sense of like, oh, you say hurtful things to your loved one out of anger. No, I mean like you can literally be trying your hardest to love someone, but you just do not know how to love.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There's people that don't know how to love, and they're trying their hardest to love, and who was anybody to tell them that their love ain't love? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Like we said, feeling you feel. You know
Yeah, like with a narcissist. Like a narcissist, like a narcissist, I believe a narcissist is trying to show love. They're just doing it in a very toxic, selfish, uninformed, unenlightened way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to say earlier. Give me a second. The truth without tact is cruelty, right? Love without compassion can also be very cruel, right? So there has to be a compassion element to the love, right? Just a narcissist can try to use love, and it's ineffective because it's just not the right kind. It's the wrong angle. It's the wrong presentation, the wrong energy. It's a selfish kind of love they're trying to, because they want you to be like them and do what they say, and it's like a control thing. But they're trying to show love. It's just damaging, toxic, and destructive to everybody that has to deal with them. Narcissism is a very powerful psychological disorder.
Yeah.
It's so intense that oftentimes therapists have to drop all their other clients and focus strictly on the narcissist because it's that fucking bad. Narcissists are that fucking difficult to deal with.
Right.
They're like emotional vampires and just drain the energy everywhere around them. They're just so hard to deal with. But yeah.
And in reference to that, there are absolutely functional and aware narcissists. Like that's a thing. There are narcissists who are like, oh, this is how I exist in relationship to others, and I'm gonna navigate that in a specific way, knowing what I'm dealing with. Like that is a thing, you know.
I know narcissists, and they just be like, well, that's just what I am. I can't help it. And I feel like that's just like in denial. That's not even like really knowing you. Because knowing you something is one thing, but like trying to go about getting help for it or like trying to switch, like change it up is another. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I mean, I feel that 100%. And basically, like what you said, how like you don't feel that love can cause harm. I mean, there's certain situations where, you know, people are in a coma and a family member decides to kill them or put them down, or, you know, if you're in the wild with a buddy and he has a life altering or at future life ending injury, and you know, it's like the old Yeller type thing. You take the dog out back and you shoot it for the betterment of the dog. You know what I mean? Like if it's
They're in
suffering. Right. So that is a situation where love produces harm.
Is it though? Ending suffering is not harm. Like that's the humane thing to do. That's not really harm, man. I understand it's a violent act because you're taking a life, but it's it's in the best interest of the life that's being taken. Like recently, so I live in an area where there's a lot of deer, and my very good friend came across a deer that was just laying on the side of the road, and it wasn't dead. It was like moving a little bit, and it was, I don't want to describe the condition it was in, but it was grossly unhealthy. Infestations, infections. It was on its last. It was getting close to the end, right? So he and I both have concealed carry permits. I don't carry mine anymore. I'm being of peace and love. I'm going to try and de-escalate. I don't carry weapons. I have them in the house for protection, but I don't take them out in the world anymore. He does. He still carries out in the world, and so he had his pistol on him. He's here with a deer, and to discharge a firearm, there's the legal implications when you do that, right? So he called the police department. He said, "Look, man, there's this deer. It's on its last leg. Like, I really just want to put it down, man. Is this okay?" And the cop was like, "Yeah, it's okay to do that. If you don't want to do it, I'll be there in a few minutes. Just tell me where you are." Right. So it can be a very humane act to take a life if it's suffering. But outside of that context, it's never positive. I think that may be the only situation where taking life is positive.
All right, so I'm gonna read out
in the context of ending suffering.
I'm gonna read out some chat real quick. RN Katie Ratch says any addiction is toxic and will eventually lead to the demise of any regular life. And then she uses quotes: "Functional addict is a misnomer. As an ICU nurse, I've seen these functional addicts, and they are not functional. They think they are, but they aren't." Skull's World says, "I think that love can be an addiction, and I feel like the term for that would be obsession, which is just a love too overbearing where it's more harmful than helpful." And then
yeah, I agree with that. Good job, Skulls. Thank you for that. Thank you for
and then
Katie, and what's the difference between obsession and addiction?
Katie responded real quick. "Yes, exactly my thought. If love is an addiction, that is
I feel like an obsession
is an obsession, right?" Also, real quick, player boy, welcome back. I know your computer's having a little bit of problems, so player boy, go ahead and Go ahead and type into your chat display, and when we see you typing, we'll stop and focus on what it is you're trying to say, okay? In the meantime, okay, so I would like to move on to the next question, which I believe is related to what we've been talking about. So what would you, according to what we've talked about around radical love, what would you say promotes radical love versus what inhibits it?
Great question.
What
promotes?
I would need love. Can you break it down like further? Like, so when you saying promote radical love, because when I think of promote, I think of like what makes it to where people like it's widespreadly known. Like you can actually like you just promote, you put it out there. And I think of and what was the other word you said? Not de-promote. You said
inhibit, which is like the opposite.
I would say obsession and addiction. I would say obsession and addiction promotes radical love.
Johnny, you have your hand up. Omar, we'll come back to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what promotes radical love? Moderation and tact. Like, I don't go around just screaming shit about love each other, do psychedelics and do drugs and be happy. I don't do that, right? But when people start asking questions, like, be like, "So Johnny, like, what do you do, man?" Like, "Well, I don't do anything anymore. I'm a neo-shaman," right? And we start that conversation. And so I try to be polite. I try to be the being of love and light that I am, even when I get asked very challenging questions, even in the face of adversity, people who attack my position and what I am and what I do. That's how we promote the radical love concept that I present, right? Because what I present is a radical love. I'm talking about like divine love energy that exists eternally and conditionally. It created all existence, right? That's a radical concept to a lot of people, right? And so I need to be tactful. I can't just start screaming and prophesizing and like forcefully trying to not convert people, but get them to understand like what I'm talking about and force them to do it. Because that would hinder my mission if I was aggressive like that, right? So I just need to sit back and just be calm about it and just have these conversations and just discuss things, That promotes my position. That doesn't hinder it. If I were to be aggressive, that would hinder my position because it's contradictory.
Which goes back to your point earlier about tact.
Yeah. It's about delivering the message effectively, potently, and gently.
Got it. So if it's interesting that we're bringing up tact and gentleness when so far in this conversation we've brought up like mercy killings and like serial killers. So I'm not saying any of this is right or wrong or should mean anything, but I just can't help but notice that those two very, very distinct energies are emerging where we're talking about pretty severe consequences, and simultaneously a lack of severity, which is that gentle, subtle tact energy, right? So, Omar, what you were speaking earlier, and the question, just to repeat it, is what promotes radical love versus what inhibits it?
Yeah, I think what promotes radical love is obsession and addiction.
Yeah.
I think you feel me? I think what inhibits radical love is someone who is more based on logic than emotion. So if someone is really logical and they view things in a logical manner in every situation, they're less likely to be a part of radical love. But when you love someone, logic kind of goes out the window a lot of times. So I think obsession and addiction kind of harbor radical love.
Before I call on you, Johnny, I want to read out chat a little bit. RN Katie Ratch says, promote and correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly. What she's saying is that what promotes radical love is being open, and what hinders it is trauma. So that's another really interesting and beautiful perspective. Omar, I'm going to come back to you 1 second. I see you putting up the contrary signal. And Johnny, you had your hand up. So what did you want to say to that?
So Omar's point about troubleshooting and being not troubleshooting, but being logical. So understand my background. So I'm not just an emotional person. I'm an electronics technician. I know how to fix radars, communication, and navigation equipment. I'm a very logical, capable troubleshooter. Right. So when I talk about love, it's not just I have some feral emotional base to what I'm doing. Although, I know I've seen exactly what you're talking about. There's this young woman that was just screaming. She was screaming. So it was the left and right SM rally, right? This woman was just screaming at the other side. They were standing there like, "Why are you doing this?" She was just screaming at the top of her lungs at them to try and convince them. And that's a person who's too emotional. That's a person who's just consumed with emotion, right? I talk about love as an emotion and how it should be embraced. But I'm a very logical, grounded person. It's like I just float aloft and just float in the clouds and think all kinds of crazy nonsense.
I don't think that. I think it's purely logical to want to be a psychonaut.
You do?
I do.
Why is that?
It's logical. Because the essence of psychedelics is pretty much, like you said, the essence of love, but more importantly, the essence of finding yourself.
Hell yeah!
Every time I've taken psychedelics, it's taken everything that I'm hiding in my brain, and it brings it to the forefront. I can't avoid it.
That's right. That's exactly what it does. That's exactly right. It can be tough, man. It can be. That's exactly right. It's exactly what happens. You're right about that. Hell yeah.
So I think it's logical to do that. Right?
Okay. Yeah,
I think it's logical to challenge yourself.
Oops.
So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on this, Omar. Is that logic can exist in the context of radical love? Maybe I misunderstood what you're saying. Like, if you said someone that's only coming from a place of logic will inhibit radical love, right?
Right. I mean, logic in certain senses, right? Like, unfortunately, when you say logical, it gives off the connotation of selfishness. In some cases, that is correct, right? Because you're doing what's logically best for you. But then again, you could logically do what's best for your family, right? Logically do what's best for your mother. Logically do what's best for your person, which might not be purely logical by definition. You know what I mean? But it's logical in the sense of, like, okay, you love your mother, it's logical to make sacrifices to make your mother happy. That's logical because of your love.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
That's altruism.
I'm going to pause 1 second. So Rob is having trouble with his OBS. He's going to be typing to me in DMs. So I'll be speaking for Rob when he types to me, because his OBS is having some problems right now. Also, RN Katie Ratch says, I will say that I don't believe that radical love is a negative thing. And I actually wanted to speak up to add something to the conversation from my perspective. The word radical if you look at the etymology of it, is radish. And it's beyond that, it's root. Right? So, from my perspective, while I agree with the concept of radical being something that's like deeply changing of all things within a system, I take it from the perspective of like, when you change the root of something, you will change everything that comes from it. So to change the root is to change everything. So in terms of radical love, for me, it's like love that goes all the way down to the root. And I personally feel like logic is intrinsic in that. Like, for instance, a radical loving perspective on the deer. On one hand, be like, yeah, this deer is suffering, let's end its suffering, right? I would consider a radical love perspective to be, well, shit, let's take this deer home and try to heal it. And that perspective changes. That's like, that does change the game, because all of a sudden it challenges, oh shit, well, how do you do that? I don't know how to do that. That's way harder than just killing it right now and ending its suffering. Because when you end its suffering, are you really, is it a mercy for it or for you?
Nah, for real.
Yeah, man.
Because you putting yourself through more struggle. You put yourself through more when you sit there and instead of, like you said, instead of just straight up. And I ain't even gonna talk about the deer because I don't know the state of the deer. Maybe that joint ain't have a leg. You know what I'm saying? But in the case of like when you say somebody's in a coma, for example, my mother was in a coma. The person that was given the choice to, was my sister, my brother. I don't know was he there? No, he was there, but he just gave up the right to make that choice, and she wasn't married at the time. So the only person that can make the choice is my older sister, and she chose to go ahead and just finish it same day. You know what I'm saying? My mother was in a coma, and you know what I'm saying. But it was only because we knew, they said, if she comes out of this, she will be a vegetable. You know what I'm saying? And she chose, instead of, like you were saying, to deal with her, instead of dealing with her as a vegetable, she chose to deal with it. But look, this is where the catch is. My mother has spoken to us before, and she said, man, if I'm ever to the point where I'm gonna be a vegetable, y'all might as well put me down, is what she said to us before. So it's like, even though, like you said, you would think radical love would be, she said this, but you know what, against her will, I'm gonna sit there and do what I feel like is best. And I feel like, that's a hard one to just dig into. You know what I'm saying? That's really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you brought up the concept of consent, and I would put forth from my perspective that anything that breaks someone's consent is not loving. Right? That would be traumatizing, right? I feel like that conversation could be brought into a lot of really, really hard and challenging conversations and discussions. But like, for instance, I was just talking to someone from Sweden last night, and they were saying in Sweden, when coronavirus, hit their country, they didn't have any lockdowns or nothing. And if you look at the amount of people that died from COVID in a certain amount of time in Sweden, it almost exactly correlates to the survival rate. So basically and the person I was talking to was like, yeah, that's what we did. They were like, well, we'll just let people die. We're going to lose this many people, so we're going to let them go. And when you look at the demographics of how that played out, it was older people and disabled people, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, from a radical perspective, getting to the root of things, just looking at the root of that, you could see that in that pattern in Sweden, the collective decided that it was within their best interests to sacrifice the weak for their process. And you can see it in the numbers, right? And that's when I bring up that conversation in terms of radical love, I bring that up personally because love is to promote life and health and stability and and the radical aspect of it is going to be getting to the root, which means like really not leaving anything out for discussion, like getting to the real root of what is at the core of this. Does anybody have anything they wanted to add to that? Looks like I'm getting a message right now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. The one thing that I want to say about love is the word love is very subjective.
Truly.
So we have our opinion of love, but that's all that it is. It's an opinion. The only person that knows what love is the creator of reality, which none of us know personally and can hit up and ask, hey, what is love?
I can.
So at the end of the well, I mean, there's people that would say that that's not the case.
No.
You know what I mean? And then I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying they're wrong. All I'm saying is the only person that truly knows the definition of love is the creator of reality.
Believe that.
So,
I'm sorry, but go ahead.
yeah. So, like, at the end of the day, it all boils down to what our opinion of love is. I just want to
Can I say
put that
one
in
thing,
there.
man?
Player Boy says, a living person who cares loves people.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, I put so based on what Omar said about the what's it called, about like nobody except for the creator knows what the concept. Nah, I feel like he created like the heavens and the stars and the skies, and then we gonna just go with the biblical. You know what I'm saying? It don't show nowhere else where he creates beyond that. And if I'm not mistaken, I've been told before, Adam is the one that named the animals. Us as humans have everything that we see here, as far as like what we name things and call things and all that other stuff. I feel like we created that. Maybe not language as a whole, you know what I'm saying? Maybe of course he had to communicate some sort of way. But at the end of the day, I feel like because creation ended on the sixth day he stopped creating. The seventh day he rested. Everything else is a product of his creations. People continue to repopulate. That's his creations creating, and that is him creating, but through his creation. I feel like as far as the ideology of love, now of course he could, like I said, Adam felt lonely, so he created Eve for him. He created a woman for him. So of course there was constructs as far as emotion, but even the Most High got emotions. It say he's slow to anger. You know what I'm saying? His wrath is held back by his love. You know what I'm saying? So like, he feel things, of course, but and then you right there. As a matter of fact, let me shut up, because if he feels love and he was here first, then clearly you right there. He did create the concept of love, but I feel like as far as like you said, our definitions and what we break down, and like you said, yeah, it's a subjective term. I feel like we are the subjects. We create what it is. So if many people deem that whatever the definition of love is the definition, it's up to us on whether or not that is. We don't have to ask him for that. I feel like that's all I meant to say.
Word. I like that a lot, especially because personally I feel like what's really important for like us is the acknowledgement that every single person's truth is an important thing. Their truth that they bring, right? And learning how to respect each other's truth and create like love from those multiple truths, I feel like there's a great power there, you know? And a lot of people are not religious, and a lot of people are religious, and there can be a lot of friction that can happen there. And I feel like getting to the root of love is one of those things that can bring people together in peace to create less war around things like religion and spirituality and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Well, can I bring up that
Go
even
ahead.
though, like you said, love can cause us to get together, but I feel like in my own stance, love is a selfish thing. Not saying you love someone, you selfish. I just mean like love can turn selfish, and I feel like a lot of people love in a selfish way, and I feel like because like love is not something like you can share love with somebody, just like your girl. You know what I'm saying? You can love your girl, but think of it like this: your girl can love you first, and you cannot be there. She could be trying to love you, and it's like she's like, "Yo, I'm not doing nothing wrong, but you're not there for that." And I feel like love is something you push on somebody in a sense. In a sense, you just like push your love on somebody, even if it's not harmful. It's not saving complex in a way, like as far as how you try to push it at them. But I mean, like, love is just like selfish, because one person starts loving first. Even if y'all love at the same time, one person loved first. You know what I'm saying? Somebody, y'all get what I mean. I feel like.
Johnny, you have your hand up. What's up?
Couple points. One, Adam and Eve. Alexander Supertramp said that happiness is only real when shared, because he was alone by himself in the bus, right, in the magical school bus, and he was all by himself, and he's like, I would be happy if I had someone to share this with, because he was where he wanted to be. He was in his perfect world, but he was alone, right? So I believe that happiness is only real when shared, And love being selfish. Love is altruistic. So love is a high vibration emotion. To engage with love, it takes some of yourself. You have to give of yourself to be kind. To engage in a high vibration emotion, you have to give of yourself first, right? It takes, because to use anger and jealousy and envy, these are very like low vibration emotions. It's very easy to engage with because it takes nothing of yourself. It's just mean, evil energy that you're engaging with. It's just freely there. To engage with love, you have to give it. You say, "I love you," and you have to give of yourself to say that and to mean it with conviction, right? So love to me is very altruistic. You have to give of yourself to engage with it, and yes, it does feel good, but it takes sacrifice to achieve it, right? And so.
Well, then that's where it goes on the back what Omar was saying as far as like how love is a construct that we created, because it's like how can damn, I'm so fucking backwards. What did you just say? I was just about, like the last thing you said, that love. Oh, you have to you said you have to give up yourself, and that love is you
talk about sacrifice.
Yeah, you have to give. Yeah, you have to give of yourself. You have to make a small sacrifice to engage with love, so it's altruistic.
Okay,
it's altruistic, meaning that you give of yourself freely to achieve something, or to help somebody, rather. Not to achieve something, but to help somebody.
Right.
Yeah, well, see, then that's when I feel, because not all the time I feel like loving something is like you got little kids out here that love, I guess, they stuffed animal or they little dog, but they be yanking this tail, and it's like that dog is not seeing no love out of it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe every now and then that they give a little, they happy, but sometimes I feel like. Or maybe then the case is they not in love with the thing that they're in love with, like they're messing with. Maybe it's just that they love what they're doing to that person, and then I guess but that's what I mean. Like I feel like love can be like very selfish or very you can get great. Love can be great, but I just feel like to even for you to feel like you complete yourself through being in love with somebody. Like I know some toxic women out here. Like it's some women that are like really toxic, and like. As far as like them loving somebody, they expect the other person to make sacrifices. You know what I'm saying?
That's not love, though. That's not love. That's abuse. That's manipulation. That's control.
So
that's predatory behavior. There's nothing altruistic or loving in that.
Yeah, real quick. Player Boy says, "I'm a loving person. I love people who care about people." Okay, so I would challenge you, Rob, Player Boy. So, from a radical love perspective. Could you love somebody who doesn't care about people? And I would put that out to everybody else, right? Like loving the one that we perceive to be unlovable, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
What was you asking as far as is that what now? Like what do you mean?
Okay,
is that?
So here's the thing I wanted to throw out for y'all, because it seems like you guys are talking about something that this is really salient to what y'all are talking about, which is the love languages, right? People have different love languages. One person loves like this. The other person loves like this, and they miss each other when they like for instance, let's just say for you, Gbear, love meant being heard. Like that was the biggest thing. Like it really don't matter. You could, as long as you know someone's really listening to you, you're like, I feel loved, right? Now let's just say that's not on my radar at all, but I still want to love you. And from my love language, love means giving, like gifts, right? So So like, let's just say, we're hanging out, and when I'm talking about love, I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm just talking about like, the interconnected love, right? So, you're telling me like, hey bro, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I'm feeling. And I can't hear you because I don't know how to listen well. So I'm just like, well, here's a present. And you're just like, fuck, man. Like, why are you giving me these presents? Yeah. I'm really asking you to just listen. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm giving you presents. Why can't you see that I'm loving? You know what I mean? So I feel like love languages are critical to what y'all are talking about. Go ahead, Johnny.
Okay, so I know a little bit about this. I pulled up. There's ways we show love, right? It's called the 5 love languages. And G, what you said was giving gift. That's how we show love. To present a present is one way to show love. Another one is an act of kindness or an act of service, right? I'll give you an example. So my girlfriend the way she shows love is acts of service, right? Like she runs the house. She does a lot of shit around. She cooks like 95% of our meals. She runs shit, dude. Like she's a professional. She's a high-powered corporate. She has a very high position, right? When she comes home, it's like the 1950s, man. I'm just the dude here. I live here. She runs the fucking house like a champ, right? But that's how she shows love. Like she runs shit, makes things presentable. It makes me comfortable, right? She takes care of me. That's how she shows love. But it's not just to me. That's how she shows the world love, because this is what she does for everybody. She takes care of people. She shows love in that regard, right? And then we have just spending quality time together, physical touch, and then saying nice things. These are the 5 love languages. So it's giving gifts, carrying out acts of kindness or service, spending quality time together, physical touch, and then saying nice things to each other. These are the ways we show love. These are the ways.
And
Like that's what I was saying earlier. Saying nice things to each other. A person you don't know, just somebody you're passing in the street. Say, good morning. Hey, buddy, how are you? Not that you want to stop engaging in conversation, but the fact that you acknowledge them. Maybe this is a person that nobody ever acknowledges. That in society, we just look past them every day, right? They're the equivalent of a homeless person sitting on the side of the street, and people just walk by them all day and don't give a fuck, right? Maybe that's their existence. Maybe that's how the world treats them, right? And so if you, all you have to do is acknowledge them and say hello, good morning. I care about you because you're a person, right? Maybe that would change their entire fucking day, right? Maybe they're weak.
So I'm gonna read some chat.
Maybe, but this is how we show love to people.
I'm gonna read some I'm gonna read some chat real quick.
But that's another thing, like, and that's great. Huh?
I'm gonna read some chat real quick. Jared says, interesting topic. I don't know what it means with radical love. And Skulls says, all these points make my mind think, but I mostly agree with Johnny. I also believe you have to sacrifice for love. And Omar brought that point up originally. Jared says, love is about sacrifice. I think a lot of things that revolve around love have to do with sacrifice. Right? So it seems like chat's really agreeing with what's been talked about here. And just for clarity, just for accuracy, it was Omar that originally brought this up. But I think we're all kind of rolling with this, is that, like, sacrifice is an intrinsic component of love. Not the sum total of it, but a root aspect of it. And what I wanted to put forth for consideration, I'm probably going to butcher this because I don't remember the exact wordage, but have any of y'all heard of the hedonist calculus? The hedonic calculus?
Yeah.
You have, Rob. Okay,
No.
cool. So I'm going to break it down, probably poorly, but it basically goes something like this. The first level of hedonism is doing something for your own pleasure, right? I want to feel good. I'm going to do whatever I want to feel good. I don't give a fuck about anybody else. It's all about me feeling good. And then the next evolution of hedonism is, I'm going to do something. I'm going to wait to receive pleasure. I'm going to defer pleasure so I can receive greater pleasure, right? So, like, think about money. I got money. I want to buy candy. I want to buy what I want right now. Boom, boom. I'm out of money. Fuck, right? The next evolution would be, okay, I'm going to save my money. I'm going to wait on the pleasure so I can buy something that allows me to have more pleasure in the future. And I'm using money as an example, but it could be many, many things, right? It could be like, I'm lonely, so I'm just going to start fucking everybody around me, versus I'm lonely, so I'm going to wait to find someone that I can, find that connection with that's going to be a little bit more, that's going to be more long lasting. Then the next evolution of hedonism is I'm going to defer my own pleasure to provide pleasure for someone else so that I can feel pleasure through them. Right?
That sounds like a lot like enlightened hedonism.
And then the next level beyond that, and I'm still probably butchering this, which is I simply, wherever I go, I bring pleasure to those around me because the act of it is pleasurable. Right?
Yeah, that's where I am. That's enlightened hedonism. Wherever you go, you bring joy wherever you go, and that's the celebration of life. That's what I try to do. So I used to go on the Reddit drugs Discord, and I used to be able to cultivate these pockets of good vibes. That's a very toxic Discord to be on. It's very negative. It's just, there's a lot of evil energy there, right? But I used to go there, and I had about a 50% success rate. It didn't happen all the time, but sometimes I go over there and I would just radiate I would start talking about my bullshit. People would be like, damn, Johnny, man, you really radiate a lot of positivity, man. And I have these little pockets of like just good vibes and shit. I do the same thing on other servers too. Like, so what you're talking about, Jeet, is I think what you're referring to is enlightened hedonism. That's kind of what I do.
Yeah. That's the calculus that I've read about, and it was really changed me to hear about. So Rob says, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I know that I'm loving, right? And then in chat, Jared or Tsunami says she was agreeing with Jared. Yes, love needs a lot of sacrifice. And Jared says it's about also being selfless, being able to put their needs before yours, but it has to be equal on both sides. And then Jared also added, unfortunately, sometimes one side won't sacrifice at all or very minimally. If there was equal sacrifice from both, there'd be stronger and longer lasting relationships. And I would put forth for consideration that extends beyond the romantic, right? Way beyond the romantic.
Oh yeah.
You know, every level
Certainly.
of relationship, I think, whether it be professional, friend, you know, random stranger you meet, you know, that level of willingness to sacrifice for each other, you know, I think is probably poignant. What were you saying, Gbear, though?
Yeah, I get what he was saying. Like some sides give less than the other, and I feel like that's what. Not saying anybody's opinion is wrong or anything, but I feel like that's what we all trying to achieve here. Like when we or that's what us as humans we believe love is that perfect equilibrium, and that's why I was saying earlier. I feel like love is selfish because just like what legit was saying, or legit was saying about dang, when you said that love language, some people do you know, you give me a gift, I don't receive it as love, and that's why I was saying love can very much well in a lot of ways can be selfish. You know what I'm saying? I'm a touchy feely kind of guy. I want to be there. I want to be in your face all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
want to hold you and shit. But somebody else can love me and not. They kind of like, you know, I'm not really with the love. Just be beside me and speak to me. That's all I want. You know what I'm saying? And it's like then I as a person feel like I'm not being loved, and then that person feels like, wait, why am I always throwing this person off? Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like the love. I guess some people just not meant to love each other, but I mean, just I don't know.
Well, I mean, so from a radical perspective, getting to the root of it, if radical love involves sacrifice, in that instance, sacrificing one's desire for touch to facilitate another's desire for intimacy that doesn't involve touch would be an act of love, an act of radical love, putting your own needs aside. And however, if that wasn't, if that was like, for instance, touch is like, you know, as humans we need touch to be healthy. Like babies die if we don't touch them, right? Touch starvation is a real physical problem. People don't get touched, they get sick, you know? So this is where like a radical perspective comes in. Let's just say you find someone and you're like, wow, I really love this person. They don't like being touched, but love means being touched for you. So can that person love you being touched by somebody else to get your needs met so you can love them in their space of not being touched? Right? That's like a radical approach that I think is poignant to, again, if we're talking about radicalism changing everything, a lot of our traditional historical views on relationships are like monogamy, right? So like opening up that conversation is going to challenge a lot of people. But then again, looking at how we can radically meet everybody's needs to create a more loving world means having to include these conversations.
If I can speak to that, what you said, I've seen a scenario on that. So it's these people, they famous too. I don't remember their name, no, my girl sent it to me. But it's these people that you know, the guy was speaking on the talk show, and he was like, you know, he liked to be a lot more intimate when in the bedroom. He liked to get very intimate, but they love each other. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't want to just cheat on his girl, so he came to her and he let her know. He said, "Hey, look, I feel like you don't do, you know, everything that I want, but I still love you, and I'm not just gonna sit there and leave you." He said, "Would you be okay with me going out, stepping out, sleeping with a female, whatever, coming back?" You know what I'm saying? She was like, she don't got an issue with it. He goes out and he does what he does. He comes back. He lets her know. She has a big problem with it. She is like, why would you actually do that? I wanted to see if he was going to actually do that. And he's like, I told you this is what I needed. And it's like, where, like, now that woman, she's not feeling like she's loved, but he was only doing that so that he can love her in an intimate way.
Yeah.
And while he can, you get what I'm saying? Like, he can let, but then things go back to normal. And she wasn't with it. It was just like, so is that her not sacrificing on her? Because that's what I'm saying. How do we define who should be doing the sacrificing here? And that's why I feel like love is selfish. You get what I'm saying? Because one person can sit there and want to give their all to another person. They sacrifice their pride. They sacrifice a whole lot of things for somebody else out of love. And the other person love them, but they just not sacrificing nothing. And it's like, that's what I'm saying. Love is a selfish thing in my eyes sometimes.
Word. I want to respond to Rob. He had his hand up and he wrote to me, "I'm feeling that my family loves me."
That's good.
No, that's not correct. Okay, you need to send me that message again, Rob, because that's what it says here. So I need to make sure it came across correctly. In the meantime, I want to read some chat. Let's see. Jared says, yes, in every aspect of relationship and love isn't limited to just romance. It can be the friendly and family love we have. I have love for my family and love for my friends. And I would dovetail this is what Johnny brought up. This can be some random stranger. And to actually add to what Johnny said, I want to quote a really powerful friend and teacher in my life who I hope to get on this podcast more often, who's actually here a couple times ago, Ife Asa. She spoke of love in the past as literally an aura. That like love is the field around us. So like when you come and you sit next to somebody on like a park bench or on the bus stop, two people sitting next to each other, completely not even paying attention to each other, they are technically in love because their energies are mixing because they're in space together, right? Like that's the fundament that she put forward that love is. I personally agree with that. Skulls says, I think you must give to gain, but it must be equal from both sides. But don't give up everything to someone because you never know their true intentions. So there's a lot to unpack there. Tsunami says, I wish people could just love unconditionally, right?
Yeah.
And then Skulls responds, yeah, that would be amazing, but there's no perfect world without imperfection. So what do y'all think about that?
Can I speak on what Scholes said? He said he felt like, if I'm not mistaken, he said people, if people gave their all, but he said people don't usually. What did he say? People don't usually. Can you kind of refresh me on that?
Yeah, Skulls said, I think you must give to gain, but it must be equal from both sides. But don't give up everything to someone because you never know their true intentions.
See, and all right, and that's why I feel like there's a lot of the complications on what's going on with love, and why a lot of these guys aren't like what they used to be. As far as the woman, like what Johnny got, he said his wife do it all in the house, like back in the 50s and all that. And I look at that as like back in the biblical times, how the woman did a lot for their man, and they trusted their man. And if God gave the man the image to go travel, the woman went with the man without even having to get that image. But skip along. The whole what I'm trying to get at is like a lot of people hold back. They hold back on what they give when they loving somebody. And I feel like that's where we all mess up. Because I'm the type person, I don't even care. Like, I'm an open person. I'm an open book. I'm from the city. I don't go around telling every other man's out here what's going on with me. But at the end of the day, when it comes to like who I'm in, I wouldn't even sit here and want to put me inside you for real. Unless I know in my mind, I'm going to sit here and maybe build something with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what we fuck up. We don't give our all to somebody. You know what I'm saying? And me, I give my all. I give my all because it ain't nothing in me that I feel like you can take from me permanently. You can't take nothing from me permanently, and that's why I feel like a lot of women out here, and as far, especially in the African Black community, it's a whole lot of power struggle when it comes to a relationship. Because you got a lot of women out here. All right, fool. And then you got a lot of women out here. They don't sit there and get it. They want to hold back because maybe another guy harmed them, or like it's just like they don't want to. Or they don't see the right man and who they with. But I feel like why would you sit there and put in that person's head that you love them if you are not going to sit there and give your all? That's not love. I feel like that's where love is deleted. Because if you're not going to sit there and give your all, you don't love that person. You don't love him.
So Rob had his hand up and he wrote me, he said, I'm feeling like my family don't love me and I love my family. So... Yeah, you wanna break that down a little bit more, Rob, while I read some more chat.
Yeah.
RN Katie Ratch says,
giving
up things for love as long as they aren't compromising your own core values. She says, if the person you love is not toxic, why stand in the way? Annoying is one thing, toxic is another. Toxic equals damage and compromise. What do y'all think about that?
So does annoyance. Annoyance can equal damage and compromise. Like if someone severely annoys someone else, right? That could lead to damage and compromise, certainly.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you constantly, if you know someone's in a relationship and let's say their partner severely annoys them consistently, then that person is more likely to cheat on them, more likely to cause damage, and more likely to compromise his position on the relationship or her position on the relationship.
That seems pretty assumptive.
Well, it's more like I'm not saying that that's a definite. I'm just saying that that can happen. That that annoyance can lead to damage and compromise. I don't believe that annoyance could be completely separated from the toxic category.
So here's the thing. Like, let's just say I was super annoyed by people who chewed loud, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my partner chews loud.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like it's a me problem, not a them problem.
Right.
Right? So if I'm going to say, well, I'm more likely to cheat on this person because of a problem I have, I don't know. That doesn't seem very loving or radical. It just seems like reactionary.
Right. Well, in a radical love sense, then you would
Bucks just
go
lost.
through all of it.
That was a 50-yard pass. They just lost. Oop, I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, it's all good.
I apologize.
Yeah,
Can I say something on that? Oh, yeah. My bad. What you speaking about, bro? My bad.
No, it's just in reply to that. It depends on the person. It depends on the relationship. When it comes to radical love, you will sit through it. If we're talking about radical love, then chewing is, you know, you're radical. Even if they annoy you, you'll still stick with them. I was just responding to what Raj said, because it seemed that she separated annoyance and toxicity, which especially if you purposefully annoy someone. That's toxic.
Oh,
you know?
right. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that's like harassment. Yeah, if you're harassing someone.
Right. Well, I feel like, so when you were saying, like, so say you got a problem with your partner chewing. You just hated chewing before you met them. Now you met them, and you happen to be with somebody that chews, but you not chew loud, but y'all ain't never went out on eat dates or whatever, so you ain't know that they chew like that for you to, you know, eventually follow. That's the picture I built. So my thing is like, I feel like that's not your problem, legit. You as a person have an issue with something. That's just you. You know what I'm saying? The person that chooses to love you, I feel like that's a choice.
Right, but what I'm saying is I couldn't put that on them. I couldn't put that on them and be like, you're in the wrong because you chew in a way that annoys me.
Well, I feel like this. If you don't like people that chew loud, you don't like people that chew loud. And at the end of the day, that person, if they want to be with you, they have to understand that there's certain things that you cannot handle. You know what I'm saying? Some things go beyond just, some things could be childhood. Some can be because of childhood. And you can't expect the next person that come in your life that says and claims they love you to not be able, especially something as small as chewing. Like, now if we go deeper to where it's like do something that you ain't never done before on some sexual mess, then that could be a little different, because that's them having to step out of their zone, and that can be a personal problem. But at the end of the day, that's your loved one's problem. If that's your problem, we gonna go radical with it. If that's your problem you deal with, that's their problem too.
So this so Katie said something that I think is perfectly dovetails to what you're saying. So in chat, RN Katie Ratch said it's okay to have different love languages, but loving that person is communicating those differences and compromising on what works for both. So, like, let's just say we're going to the chewing thing. And I chose chewing because it's a petty little thing. But how many times have y'all seen a petty thing tear a relationship down, right?
Yeah.
So like a compromise would be like, okay, I don't want to tell this person they got to change how they chew, because that's like a really slippery slope. Because every little thing that annoys me, if I ask my partner to constantly change to my whimsy, I'm like etching away at them. I'm chipping away at them, right? So like communicating that like, hey, I have a problem with this, and so like maybe we need to eat separately sometimes, or or you need to understand that sometimes if we're eating together, I might seem a little distant because I'm just trying to cope with something. But it doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I got an issue that is just part of my neurology or whatever. Rob just hold on. Rob says So he says, my family has never seen me since the last 4th of July, and my brother didn't see me on my last birthday. So,
Damn.
so,
Sorry, man.
so what you're talking about is feeling like, Rob, in order to feel loved, you want people to be present in your life and show up and be a part of your life. Right?
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
Word. So when people don't show up, and people just don't even show up to be connected to you, you most certainly don't feel loved, right?
Yeah.
Word. I think a lot of us can relate to that. But at
Yeah,
some,
all.
right?
But going on saying with the my bad. What you about to start?
No, go ahead, please.
Well, like you were saying with the chewing though, like, all right. So my girl just brought up a good point. She said, because I did date somebody that had a bad chewing problem, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm one of those people that got a problem with it. She could never chew with her shit closed. And I did tell her that, and you're right, it is a personal problem. I constantly be like, can you chew with your mouth closed? What? What's wrong? All eating and all that. And eventually, you're right. That shit broke me up. Because, like you said, this is my problem, so I'm going to have to slide on you. And, of course, I don't sit there and jump at every little thing. Like, that's just not me. But another thing, my girl was pregnant. Beautiful baby. You hear me? Motherfucking, she had a lot of problems with the things I did when she was pregnant. Almost everything pissed her off. You hear me? So is that her problem or my problem? Especially when she pushing them problems on me. I feel like that's our problem because I'm doing something she dislikes. You know what I'm saying? Especially when she come to me, she speak to me, she break down what the issue is. Logically, we break it down and we get to the root of it. Radically, I feel like that's that's both our problem. Like that's not you can't because that's selfish to say that it's only your problem. That your companion is being selfish for you to say you have an issue with something and they constantly continue to do that.
Right. So Tsunami. Okay, I got you, Rob. We'll get to you. So Rob wrote me something. I'm gonna read chat. I'm gonna go to Rob. Tsunami says, unconditional love exists on planet Earth. Mother's love is unconditional love, right? And I'm not quite sure if you mean mother as in planet Earth or if you mean mother as in like a birth mother. Jared says,
capital M, I would assume. Yeah.
So Jared says, that's a strong point to touch upon. While love is a very pure and powerful emotion, there must also be boundaries for it. In what sense? Well, while we may love a person very much, if that relationship is toxic and detrimental to our mental and emotional health, our self-love has to push us to leave that. We can't be blinded by our love for that person to the point where we allow ourselves to continue to be hurt and damaged by them. I think that's a really powerful point when Jared brings up love and boundaries, right? And I want to come back to that. So let's all please put that in your head because I want to read some more stuff. I want to come back to that point, love and boundaries. RNKD Ratch says, if something is annoying enough, then that is toxic. If you can't have a conversation with someone about something that annoys you, then you lack emotional maturity. If you are purposely annoying someone, that is intentional and therefore toxic. So she's bringing up nuances around this, and I think there are a lot of nuances. Player Boy says, I feel like my family doesn't care about me, right? Well, I can tell you right now, Rob, we're very grateful to have you here, and I care about you very much. I'm glad you're in my life, and, I hope you see that through just how I show up to help you show up with us, Okay, so, Johnny, you got your hand up.
Two things. One, I think we're conflating love with a lot of other things like jealousy, envy, obsession. Like that's not what love is. You're talking about negative aspects of it. Love, as it stands on its own, is not any of those things. And there's a lot of conflation between all these other emotions and shit. And like the way love is used destructively, but it's not love that's destructive. It's the obsession around it. It's the jealousy, envy, and all these things. That aside, love boundaries. Again, love without boundaries, like I talked about earlier, like honesty without tact is just cruelty. Love without boundaries is obsession.
Well put.
Yeah, I agree.
So Rob added on something to what he said. He says, I feel like my family doesn't care about me when I didn't do anything. Right? And Rob, if I'm stepping out of boundaries here, please correct me, but it seems like what this is a conversation of is a larger conversation of how people love people with disabilities in society.
Yeah.
Does that feel accurate to you?
Yeah.
Right. So if we're talking about radical love and we're talking about love beyond just the individual and the romantic, then how we love people that are perceived to be different is going to be a part of this conversation. And getting radical about that is important. Like, for instance, you know, I've been working with disabled people for many, 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 many years. And the amount of segregation that happens on a systemic level for disabled people, right? Folks that are severely disabled and need help living are often pushed into communities where all the disabled people are collected and kind of like distanced from the rest of the people in community.
Yeah.
Does that sound true to you, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can expand the conversation of radical love beyond just the individual. We can start looking at it in how we treat people that are simply perceived to be different or, you know, outside of the bounds of quote unquote normal society, which if we're talking about radical love, this is going to go into things like, you know, who's perceived to be wholesome or not, worthy of loving or not, who's normal or not, who's sane or not, who's, you know, like these people are worthy of love, whereas these people are not. And that judgment, that dynamic seems like it's going to hit the conversation of radical love, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think about that?
I feel like, dang, that's real talk. And that goes back to like how Omar was the whole construct of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because to deem how anybody is deserves or requires love, I don't know, man. That's a messed up term, but I feel like if we're gonna go into the most purest form of love and how like it goes for everybody, I look at a child. My child, man, I sit there and to look at her smiling little stuff. I sit there and tell her, "Come here, Jackie." She come running. I'm trying to tell you, man, if your child, player boy, if he had a kid, you know what I'm saying? It don't matter what you look like, what you are, who you are. It comes to the whole. It full circles into not even a broad statement. It becomes the most indefinite term of it all. A child's love is like it's the truest thing in this world. I feel like she claims the mother's love. She wrong. I feel like the child's love can never be selfish. Your child, like you said, a child needs that touch. It's and I feel like that's a shameful thing to say. Think that some people don't get love. I'm sorry. Look, some people, what's it called? Hey, I'm coming to you. I got you. But what's it called? Like, that's wrong. That's messed up. That's when it becomes like a concept, and it's how can we sit there and do that?
So RN Katie Ratch says, "Playboy, you are important, and I can't thank you enough for being here." And I want to echo that as well, Player Boy. I'm extremely grateful you're being here to share your voice and your experience and your love. Tsunami says, "Gbear, your baby is so cute." I agree. Jared says, "Yes, indeed, compromising your core oh no, this is RN Katie. I'm sorry. Yes, indeed, compromising your core values and morals is not an option, and that your baby is also very cute." She says. And then looks like everybody's just loving on each other in chat. So that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Okay, so love and boundaries. Okay, what's up, Rob? He says, "I love kids and I want one." Hell yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I hope someday you can find that, because it is a beautiful thing. It's also one of the hardest things you'll ever find, having a kid.
Yeah. I know.
But if you love being the center of somebody's world, though, a child is the way to go. And like you were saying, Rob, you were saying like how a child, like you said, hey girl, don't be grabbing my nipple. What's it called? Crazy. Like you were saying, how that you feel like your family don't. Man, look, man, if you got the finances, or if you got the, bro, I'm trying to tell you, all a child really requires for is your time, your attention, and your love. And of course, you gotta feed them, change their diaper. But patience, is number one too. But I mean, like your time. That's what I mean by patience. Your time.
Just because you have time doesn't mean
taking time is being patient. You know what I'm saying? You throwing me off, Mo. It's like, nah, but like I was saying, like for real.
Spend time with your child and be there 24/7, but it's knowing that they're gonna do stuff to piss you off, and you still have to know that they're a child. And not get mad at them, because you were once a kid as well, and you probably did stuff to your parents, and to be patient.
Yeah, that's a fact. But yeah, bro, love of a child. I don't know, man. If you give your child love, bro, I feel like can't nothing come out but love. You know what I'm saying? All these kids that don't bang with their parents or don't love their parents, I feel like their parent did not show them love. Because even some parents do not show kids, like my father. He used to put his hands on me, my mother, all my brothers and sisters. Wow, man, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I love my father. You know why? Because he actually, at the end of the day, showed love. And I knew he just ain't know how I love everybody, probably. Ain't nobody like his love. But I look at it more of a large, I look more deeper into things. He was a loving man, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah.
Jared says, having a child is hard. So, how we have to take care of ourselves? Having a kid is like having to take care of a whole other person. Facts.
Yeah. But they still easy, kind of. They not, but they are. They not, but I'll put it like this. I feel like taking care of a person that cannot take care of themselves that is an adult is harder than taking care of I wouldn't say that. Never mind, let me shut up.
Not knowing what to expect and transitioning to you not be able to sleep when you want to sleep and being on somebody else's schedule, knowing that you'll go days without sleep. That transition. That's the only thing being hard.
You had to sacrifice that out of love. You love your child, you had to sacrifice all that.
This goes back to what we've been talking about from the very beginning of this podcast, which is sacrifice as a component of radical love. I mean, it just keeps coming up again and again and again and again and again. And so I feel like that's one of the things we could kind of write that down and staple that on the wall in this conversation as like a fundament, is sacrifice. And not the only thing, but that's clearly, I mean, chat's been bringing it up. We've been bringing it up. So given that, I want to bring this back because this is actually going to lead into the next question, but love and boundaries. Okay? So this is the question I have. Where's my damn questions? There we go. Can radical love exist simultaneously with self-defense?
Ooh.
In my opinion, no, it cannot, because like you said, radical is the root of it, and I feel like for you to be self-defense, and if I'm not mistaken, when you saying self-defense, you mean as far as like a person that come here, Jay, come here. I feel like it's as far as I feel like it's as far as like what's it called, like you seeing things that's wrong with them and you being defensive toward, or they trying to tell you they mean something when they mean well, but you're defensive, like I don't know, you hold back yourself. I feel like I
would put forth that yes, that level of defensiveness is on the spectrum, but I'm taking it. Let's start on a really extreme and like before we dive into that level of subtlety, let's think about it like this: you're walking down the street. Someone jumps out with a knife and says, "Give me everything you got." Can that level of self-defense, can radical love exist simultaneously with self-defense?
I feel like it cannot, because like you said, radical love is the root of it, and that's the whole like you to the root of it. And as far as loving somebody, you cannot be self-defensive. Now, okay, I put it like this: there are people out here that have been raped when they were young. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like even if they love somebody radically, they're not, I'm scared when you touch me, like there's no defense with it. This person, you believe in this person. You straight up believe. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think that's possible. I don't think you could be self-defense and have radical love for somebody.
Okay. No. You say no as well, Rob? You're a no on that one? So the moment you have to defend yourself, it is impossible to radically love. Is that the claim?
Basically, if you love someone, it would be radical to allow them to harm you. Right?
Say that again, please.
Like if you love someone, it would be radical for allowing them to harm you. Like for example, when I was a teenager, I was a bad boy, right? And there are times, my mom would attack me and I would have no self-defense really. I would just allow her to hit me because I'm not gonna hit my mom. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a form of radical love, because I radically love her. I would be willing to allow her to inflict harm upon me without any sort of self-defense.
So Player Boy says no, it can't. No, it can't. So radical love cannot exist in self-defense. Okay, so player boys a no. Also, looks like Skulls had to switch over to his PC. So just to catch you up, Skulls, the question that's being posed to the group is, can radical love exist in the context of self-defense? Okay? And that's a spectrum. So here is I'm a yes. I'm an absolute yes. Okay? Absolutely. Yeah. And here's why. Okay? Because defending yourself does not inherently mean you have to harm somebody. Right? So, like, for instance, this is why I appreciate some of the perspective of kung fu. Right? If I'm walking down the street, minding my own business, someone says, hey, come here, I want to beat you up. Now, I radically love this person, no matter what, right? This person, like, oh, damn, this human that I radically love wants to beat me up. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is be like, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to engage in this, right? Remove myself from the situation. But let's just say they progress. They say, look, I'm going to beat your ass, right? I'm like, no, I don't want to hurt you. I love you. I don't want to hurt anybody, right? So, but backing off doesn't work. So the goal then is to neutralize them without hurting them, which isn't always possible. And if someone's hell-bent on taking my life, like let's just say it's an extreme example. Someone's hell-bent on taking my life. The calculus that I've found for myself is, well, first of all, I'm going to have to remove myself from the situation. If I can't remove myself from the situation, then I'm going to try to stop this person without hurting them, right? Kick their legs out from under them, sit on their chest, right? But let's just say that doesn't work. It's like, okay, I'm trying to do that. This person still wants to take my life. And I love myself, right? Just as much as I love this person. So it's a conflict of interest, and it's a complex one. So stopping them without hurting them isn't working. Well, then I'm going to have to hurt them. And if I have to hurt them to stop them from taking my life, then that's just what has to happen, unfortunately, because not hurting them is not an option for them. Right? If hurting them still does not stop them from wanting to take my life, I'm gonna maim them. I'm gonna have to bust their arm or something. Right? I don't want to. There's no joy in it. I might have to bust their ankle. Right? I might have to ring their bell, so to speak, so that they're stunned. Like, they're maimed. They're like, fuck, I can't fight anymore. If that still doesn't work, I don't want to kill nobody, but after that point, if someone's still trying to kill me and maiming him isn't even working, like, that's where it gets a hard conversation. And I can tell you straight up, I've been in this situation. I've been in situations where my life is on the line, and I'm like, I have the legal opportunity to take someone's life who's trying to take my life, and I'm not gonna. Right? I've tested this calculus. So I would put forth, and I would put this forth. Look at, as an example, at the slave revolts in Haiti. Okay? So you had this massive oppressive force that was putting people in slavery, and these people had to fight to get out of slavery. Right? I would put forth that within that malaise of violence and oppression and conflict and war, that unconditional love can absolutely exist. And if it means doing something hard when there's already harm being done, then it's not morally wrong to do harm to stop harm. Right?
Yeah,
it's just up to the individual to be able to modulate that in a way that is to reduce harm as much as possible. Anyways, that's my thoughts. What do y'all think?
You were Omar.
Yeah, real quick, I want to say that your thought process in regards to self-defense, how you described it with someone trying to murder you, I would say that it is logical. I wouldn't say that it's radical. I would say that radically loving someone, because like what you said makes perfect sense, and I don't really believe that what you said is out of the norm in any way. I believe that if someone's trying to take your life, you should defend yourself. You know what I mean? What I think would be radical would be loving the person so much that you allow them to murder you.
Wow.
Right? I think like that's radical love.
So that seems like a perspective that's going to lie in favor of abusers who have power. So to love,
Right.
to love unconditionally is to allow abusers to have power. That's what you're saying.
Right.
I don't agree with that.
Answer this
Yeah.
properly.
Rob,
Can you read the definition
real quick. Rob says, "My dad put me in a very hot bath." Is that correct, Rob? Okay. My dad put me in a very hot bath, and that caused you injury, right? But you still love him. Okay. So, what Rob's talking about is people in his life have hurt him, but he still loves them. So he put that forth for consideration. But go ahead, y'all.
I feel like so most got changed by what you were saying. I was like, you know what, you right, definitely radical, which I still was changed at the end, because I'm like, you know, there's cases where, you know, I love my brothers in them, but at the end of the day, we disagree, we have emotions, and who am I to say we don't love each other because me and him disagree on something, and then we get to fighting with the hands. We've done that before, you know what I'm saying? Goonie, who y'all seen on here? She got points to say too. Y'all gonna make her smart because she geeking to see what's going on when you talking legit. I think she like when you talk legit. But skip along. Nah, though, like, yeah, it's you right. Definitely, you can radically love somebody. Cause I kill for I love my brothers in them. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we fight too. You know what I'm saying? We get defensive too. And at the end of the day, well, I feel like your case though that you were saying, yes, that is like I feel like Omar got me there too. That is more of a logical. You love this person, but you cannot logically let them harm you. You know what I'm saying? That's just out of logic. You know what I'm saying? You love yourself too. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's an amount of you loving yourself more than you love the other person. So you would radically love yourself more than you know what I'm saying? But I feel like as far as what Omar was saying about matter of fact, that's too many points. My girl just said that's too many points. All right.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add to this? It looks like Johnny Furrows. What do you want to add, Rob? Why don't you go ahead and type that out? Looks like Johnny's PC died. Rob says, "I love my family. I love my family. I know what happened. I'm not sure I understand, Rob. Can you try that again, please?" But yeah, so it seems like, so correct me if I'm wrong, if people are saying no, radical love cannot exist in self-defense, that seems like an ideology that's going to favor abusers.
Right. But that's radical love. Like, for example, a form of radical love is Stockholm syndrome. You know what I mean? That's a form of radical love.
You're going to have to break that down for me. I'm not following that. Because remember, well, we were defining love as the two things that were brought up were like beyond the norm, and then the dictionary definition was changing on a fundamental level, right? Mm-hmm. I would put forth that loving an abuser, like Stockholm syndrome, isn't radical. It's actually quite normal. Like look at how many people complain about, you know, abusive governments while simultaneously being like, but we gotta have them, you know? Like, that's a form of Stockholm syndrome. I would put forth, like, you know, like landlords, I think, are another example of where people acquiesce to, like, abusive patterns in a Stockholm syndrome fashion, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to staunchly sit on the other side of this one, but I'm not trying to say who's right or not, you know?
So just real quick, in response to what you said, I just looked up the definition of Stockholm syndrome, and the definition is feelings of trust or affection felt in many cases of kidnapping or hostage taking by a victim toward a captor. Mm-hmm. So, like, a government isn't necessarily like a kidnapping situation, you know what I mean?
Really?
But well, I mean, super technically, if you really want to dive into it, of course, we're all captors, right? We're all captive in the society, and
especially me.
Welcome back, Johnny.
Yeah, so I get what you mean by that. It's true, but it's not like normally viewed as kidnapping. But I do agree with you that it has many similarities.
Right.
Of course, yeah. Stockholm syndrome. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gbear. I think
but you're right. Stockholm syndrome is such a normalized thing. Like, think of my people as a whole, we draw like on Stockholm time, and for real thing when you think about it,
Like Willie
we
Lynch
now
syndrome.
we here, and instead of going back, we stay in like yeah. But that's off topic. My bad.
I mean, if we're talking about radical love, and you know, Robert Playerboy already brought up the conversation of how people with disabilities are what's the word? What the fuck is the word? Are segregated, right? So we don't have to talk about this, but I feel like radical love and how that relates to different groups of people and how and we're talking about Stockholm syndrome. I mean, I don't mind bringing this up if you want to bring it up, Gbear, where you're going with this. So I'm not going to force you, but if you want to break it down for us, please do.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely psych Stockholm syndrome in a layman's sense. You know what I'm saying? Because like we weren't originally here, and we you know what I'm saying, war took not but yeah, it was war in a sense. Yeah, we basically prisoners of war, and instead of like, because at this point like we don't know where to go, most of us, and at the end of the day it's like, yeah, instead of choosing like a Stockholm syndrome, because that person maybe at some point they may have the opportunity to get away, they will not get away because it's what they have where they are is better than what they feel like they have back at home, and that's a lot of us out here. Because me, I don't know where that guy go. You and me, I don't want to go to Israel maybe, but it's a lot going on over there. So like, Stockholm syndrome, you know what I'm saying? And it is, but a lot of people are unaware of it. But you know, I am in a way aware of it only because my cousin be all the time. He be like, bro, we jaw like prisoners of war. You know what I'm saying? Jaw like, but you know, what can you do? You know what I'm saying? It's life. But
Playerboy says, I love my family no matter what happens. So that seems like a form of unconditional love, right, Rob? Like,
so then can you break down radical love then? Because I feel like for the longest I've been thinking of unconditional love more than radical love. Because when you spoke radical, you said it's changing something. It's when you feel the need to change something, right? And is it you that are changing, or is it your love someone else to be changed? I need to know that.
Rob, it seems like what you're saying is that your definition of radical love is unconditional love, right? Does that
I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm checking in with that, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that comparison personally. But here's the thing: like, loving people unconditionally doesn't like. Okay, we've talked about love languages, right? So you can love someone unconditionally, but like, for instance, people in chat brought this up. You don't compromise your core values and who you are. So you can stick to your core values and still love someone unconditionally, right? Right? Like, I can say what's going on here is wrong. I can say what's going on here is not okay according to my values, and I still unconditionally love everybody involved. No?
Wait, no, then yeah. Because it's under any conditions. These are conditions that you may not bang with, but yeah.
Yeah, but the condition there is that you have to stick to your core values. So that's the condition.
Were you saying you stick with your core values?
Yeah. So
did he say that? Then yeah, it's not unconditional love then.
Because that's a condition right there.
That's you met one of the conditions was met that you cannot handle. So you know what I'm saying, and you stick to that point, then that's not unconditional. Because unconditional is like, this person can sit here and she can have a poo on your chest fetish, and you just like, I don't like it, but I mean, it's what it is type. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, it could be anything. That's unconditional. Your values, you just like throw yourself away when you have unconditional love, I feel like.
So yeah, like I'm gonna go in the chat real quick. Katie Ratch says Stockholm syndrome is a psychological disorder caused by trauma. Jared says, isn't that when one falls in love with their abuser captor? I do remember it's part of a trauma, so I don't think it falls into the category of radical love since it is a syndrome caused by said trauma.
Hey!
What was that?
Baby things.
Okay, RN Katie Ratchet says, yeah, it has literally nothing to do with love, but rather training by trauma. So the distinction that she's bringing up, I think, is really important. It's like if you're trauma. Okay, actually, this is related to the four fear responses, right? Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. You ever heard the last? Most people know the first two, but aren't really familiar with the last two. So, fight and flight, pretty obvious. Something comes up, you get triggered, you want to fight, or you want to run. Freeze and fawn are just as valid for like the trauma survival mechanism. Freeze is, I'm just not going to move at all. I'm going to totally freeze. And there's plenty of examples in nature where organisms have evolved that to survive. Baby deer, right? Baby deer, when there's like a predator, they'll like shrink down and just get absolutely still as possible, right? But fawning is the same. It's like Stockholm syndrome. Something's happening that's traumatizing, and my response is to like overly love the person who's doing this in hopes that they will reduce what they're doing, right? So like, for instance, you see this a lot in like classic abusive relationships in the past between husband and wife, where the wife is constantly walking on eggshells for the abusive husband so that, oh, here's your favorite meal, here's your shoes, here's your paper, here's your smoke, I'm just doing all these things, oh, you're the greatest ever, please don't hit me, So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of what RN Katie Ratch was trying to point out, is that that's not love. Right? That's a corruption of love. That is a trauma response. And so, which is why, this is where go ahead.
Wouldn't trauma be radical? And is trauma completely void from true love?
I mean, if you can point out someone that doesn't have some sort of trauma, I would love to meet that person personally.
I agree.
And I feel like, I feel like this was kind of set up in the beginning of this podcast, that like trauma and pain are kind of the opposite of love, right? And we talked about love as a sacrifice, and we also talked about like the calculus of hedonism, like you're getting pleasure by loving, but also deferring immediate pleasure for a greater love is a part of that as well. Loving another by giving them pleasure over your own pleasure is a form of sacrifice. It's all part of it. Right? It's all part of it, I think. It's all interconnected. So, I mean, this comes back to RN Katie Ratch says exactly right. So yeah, if we're talking about love as the building up of each other, right, and traumatizing people as the pulling down of each other, excusing traumatizing others in the name of love just doesn't seem loving. That's why I'm a big old yes. Like, unconditional love can absolutely exist in self-defense. My parents were incredibly abusive, and they are continuing to this day. Like, if I was to interact with them again, they would continue to be abusive. So I can have a boundary and be like, y'all aren't going to be in my life, and I still unconditionally love you. I know that where you're coming from is a place of your own trauma, and I can have compassion for that. But I'm not going to allow you to abuse me, though. I'm still going to defend myself from that.
Hey, G, good for you for recognizing that toxicity and establishing those boundaries to protect yourself, brother.
Word.
Well done, well played. That is the correct course of action to protect yourself.
Word. Thank you. You had your hand up, though. Did you want to bring up some of their points?
No, that was it.
Oh, that was
that was it, man. I was just in support of what you've done with your life to take control and not let these abusers affect you negatively anymore. Good for you, man. I'm happy for you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob. It looks like Mafia's needs to refresh his computer. Okay, so that was the last question I had on this topic today. So, hold on a second. There we go. Does anybody want to add anything to anything we've talked about before we move on to I gotta drag Omar back in 1 second. Yeah. So, does anybody want to touch? Is there any points y'all feel that have been left out from any of the topics that we've had before we move on to like closing statements and whatnot?
No, I just want to leave this last thing on. I feel like love is just like, man, if we're gonna be simple with it, and if we really want love, because let's be honest, who don't want to feel love, and who doesn't want to have the opportunity to love someone else? I feel like we just need to sit here and get out of ourselves with it. You know what I'm saying? Think about the other person. Don't be dumb about it. Like my man School said. He said, don't sit there and just give your all the time. Me, I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm dumb like that. I will sit there and give somebody my all, regardless of the matter. Just on the strength that I don't feel like there's much more than I can lose. I've lost a lot in my life already. But skip along, like, I feel like, just everybody love each other. Stop thinking in your head so much. If you sitting there taking the time of someone else and you sitting there and you expect them and you taking them off the market at that to where somebody else doesn't have the opportunity to love them, then you need to understand you need to give that person your all. You need to give them your all, because at the end of the day, somebody else is more than willing to give that person their all. And so it's like, you know what I'm saying? No more selfishness, no more. Everybody should just sit there and when you take somebody, and I'm talking about as partner love, you should sit there and love that person, not unconditionally, excuse me, but you should love them radically.
Real quick, I wanted to touch upon something that you said before. So, Legit, if I'm not mistaken, you said that love, you feel that love doesn't produce harm. Is that correct?
I would say yes. At its core, love is not about causing harm. But I feel like people can do harm in the name of what they perceive to be love.
Right, but those are abominations. That's jealousy, envy, shit like that. That's not actually love. It's things around love. It's obsessive. It's the love without boundaries, like we spoke about. Right, that's the love without boundaries. Actual love doesn't cause damage. The shit around it does. Right. Jealousy, envy, anger, fucking all these things. Violence can be. We talked about earlier. Violence can be born of love, right? But truly, love as it stands on its own is not destructive.
Right. So going back to what you said as well, Ajit. So how can you, like, if your self-defense causes harm to someone, you just said that you feel that love at its core doesn't cause harm. So how can you unconditionally love someone and still cause harm to them, even if it is in self-defense?
This is where these conversations get really, really difficult.
Yeah, that has to do with, like,
Can I say no? Because what he said can be answered, though. Because think about it. You loving somebody unconditionally doesn't mean that they don't have conditions that you doing that they not gonna love. You can love. I can love anybody unconditionally. I'm just accepting all of their conditions. That don't mean they gonna accept all of mine, and my conditions can cause harm to them. So Omar got some truth to what he's saying.
Yeah, so let me give you guys an example, right? So we're talking about, like, self-preservation. This has to do with, like, your moral compass and shit, right? So this is very, very subjective. So there's stories. My mother was an ICU nurse for like 35 years, right? So she would come home from the hospital and tell me these stories, not to scare me as a kid, but just tell me, like, the world is fucked up and this is what people do to each other, right? Horrible, horror stories of people inflicting horrible harm rates. I don't mean just gunshots and gang shit. That was a big part of where I'm from. But largely it was shit like, there was a dude who was in a wheelchair, and him and his partner got in an argument, and she beat him in the head with a frying pan, right? A cast iron frying pan. She beat him in the fucking head with it, right? Where was this going? God damn it! I brought it up for a reason. This is happening. I smoked too much weed. Anyway,
I'll say this, and I think hopefully this will bring back what you were talking about. Where we're going with this conversation, and I'm down to go there, is really the taking of love into the most fucked up places that we can imagine.
Yeah. Hold on. I got it. Okay, so one of the things, so in that lesson that she taught me, like, this person did these things to the person they cared about, right? I would never allow somebody to victimize me in that way, right? I've told people in the past relationships I was in, I've literally had this conversation. I say, listen, if you ever get mad at me, if you ever think you're gonna pick up a frying pan and beat me with it, I will knock you the fuck out. I will treat you like a man, and I'll punch your fucking teeth out. I'll knock you out in the fucking ground. Just one punch to defend myself. You do not attack me with a weapon. That's self-defense. And now, if that's an extreme, I wouldn't actually punch your teeth out or no shit like that, but I will defend myself. I will use violence to defend myself if I have to. This is a person I care about deeply, right? But I will not allow myself to be a victim like that. And this has to do with moral compass and, like, how you perceive that, right? I'm not a violent person, but I will not allow violence to be enacted upon myself or the people around me. I simply won't allow for that.
Word. Yeah, I mean, so to answer your question, Omar, so personally, my view, my personal compass of violence, I define violence as any conscious or unconscious choice that inhibits any other being's choice, period. Right? So because I take that on personally because I've just seen that to inhibit someone's choice is choice is what is autonomy. It's freedom. To inhibit that is to inhibit someone's core humanity. But there's gonna be conflicts that happen. People's choices are gonna be in conflict with each other. Someone might have a choice to end my ability to speak to them with a frying pan upside the head, right? Mm-hmm. So they're inhibiting my choice. I'm gonna inhibit their choice to do that.
Yeah.
I'm good. Right. Like this is so. For instance, people talk about like nonviolent protests, right? Which I'm fine with. Like when people want to take to the streets and protest, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but there's a claim that gets made that that's nonviolent, and I'm like, well, that's just tacitly untrue. I mean, that's not tacit. It's functionally not true, because if you're going out and blocking streets, you're blocking people's ability to get around. You might be blocking someone's life from being saved without even realizing it. It doesn't make what's going on. And there's no claim from me that what's going on around that is right or wrong. It's just a functional examination of the power at hand. Right? So when it comes to the concept of violence as it pertains to love, from my perspective, life is violent. Life is inherently violent, even on the tiniest level, right? And to try and navigate that to the best degree to inhibit harm, knowing that harm is inherently unavoidable, right? Like, I don't even like to kill animals. I don't like to eat animals. I don't like to kill bugs. But I know that even just the exact act of existing is causing me to participate in harm. By walking on the ground, I may accidentally walk on some bugs I didn't even see. Like, there's bugs in my skin that when I wash my body, I kill them, right? Like little tiny microscopic bugs. So there is, looking at it as a right or wrong, for me, doesn't work so much as it is, how can I facilitate as much healing and love as possible and reduce harm in a world where if love is creativity, then harm is entropy, which is like 50% of the equation and always happening, you know? Go ahead, Johnny.
So, real quick, I want to point something out. The world is made safe by good men who are capable of incredible violence. I don't choose violence, but good men prevent evil from happening by using violence, because evil comes and performs violence, and you can't sit there and passively allow that to happen. Because we love each other, because we love the people around us, we will not allow violence to harm them. Right? So when that comes, it's okay to protect what you love. It's okay to protect who you love and the good people around you. Yeah. It absolutely is. I agree. I consider myself one of those people. I'm a good man. I think I'm a good man. At least I try to be. I'm capable of incredible violence. I'm a big dude. I'm capable of incredible violence, but I choose not to. I don't want to hurt people. I want to heal people. I'm a healer. I'm a shaman. If violence comes to my doorstep and threatens either my life, my girlfriend, if we're together, you guys, I will do something about it. I will do something about it.
There's a quote that I heard. I'm probably going to butcher it. It's if you're a pacifist, but you don't if you don't have the capacity to do harm, you're not a pacifist. You're just harmless. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely.
Being a pacifist is, I could do tremendous harm, but I'm not gonna. You know,
that's right.
And so, like for instance, here's another example. This is a life example. I was living with a group of people in a collective in San Francisco. We had a building that we had like multiple floors that we were all renting out. It was like a big artists and engineers collective. And this is totally true. This sounds like I'm making it up. It's not. There was next door to us. This is San Francisco, so the buildings are tall and crammed together. You could literally jump from one building to another real easy because they're like 3 feet apart, you know. And next to us was a hotel where a lot of people that were struggling with making money, having a place to live, stayed. And I was sleeping in my room, and I wake up in my sleep one day, and I think it was the weekend, and it was kind of late, so we were all sleeping in. And I hear crashing and shattering coming from the living room, which was on the other side of the wall of my room. And then I hear my roommates screaming. And I go, what the fuck? So I take a breath. I go outside and I look at what's going on in our living room, and I see one of my roommates like covering themselves up, like trying to get dressed while they're screaming at someone. And I look at someone, and there's what's going on. There's a person running away and tripping over every single fucking thing in our living room, trying to get the fuck out. Right? Like they couldn't have done a worse job of escaping. It was just like,
Yeah.
trip over the chair, trip over the table, knock over the lamp, just like... And it was clear to me, I was like, this person is scared and running away. And then, so my friend was about to just go ham on him, and I was like, I got this. And I just like, let me do this. No. So he's running out, and I know the lay of the land. I lived there for a while. I knew the whole area like the back of my hand, and I could see where this guy was running. He was running back out the window that he'd come in. And he starts climbing down the fire escape. And I knew, I'll get to you in a second, Robert. I see your hand up. And I knew that where he was going was a dead end. And someone who's desperate is going to be more dangerous when they're back into a corner. So as he's going down the fire escape, I use my voice to impact him. Hey! Like really loud, like boom! Like just wanted to make sure it hit him. And he stops and he looks up and I go, if you're trying to get away, you're going the wrong way. You're going to be trapped. And he's terrified. He looks up and he looks down. And I can see the wheels turning. Like, is this guy fucking with me? Like, and he looks up and he looks back down and he kind of sees it. Like, yeah, I don't really. He looks back up and I go, if you want to get out of here, I'll show you the front door, right? And he was like, yeah, I do want to get out of here. And I was like, I didn't know if this dude was here to rob us or anything. What I did know is that the energy at hand, if I didn't de-escalate it, it was going to escalate, right? And in my heart, I had to hold unconditional love to do this. Like, I love this person, no matter what they're here to do. But I'm not going to let them hurt my friends. Just like I was like, I'm not going to let my roommates hurt this person. From a logical level, on an emotional level, it's just like a feeling of like calmness and acceptance, right? That's the not logicalness. Like, I'm calm, even though this is a crisis, and I accept where everybody's at, even though having judgment is like probably not out of bounds for most people in this situation. Judging this person as like a home invader would be like, most people would be like, yeah, I got no problem judging this person. But for me, the radical approach was love everybody no matter what. My roommates are scared. This dude's scared. I don't know what he wants. But I already know I'm in a power position over this person, first and foremost, so I knew I could just relax a little bit. The guy comes back in. I talked to him. I was like, what's going on? He goes, man, I was smoking crack next door, and the dude I was smoking crack with, he all of a sudden pulled a knife on me, and I had to jump out the window. And what we had all these power cords running off our roof because we were doing all kind of wild stuff with the electricity there. But the point is, he jumped out his window and grabbed one of our power cords and swung onto our fire escape because he was trying to escape from getting stabbed by the dude he was smoking crack with. And so I was just like, wow, that's
wow.
You know, that must be really scary. I was just empathizing with him, and you watch this dude's energy just go, you know, it just like totally relaxed. And I was like, okay, look, I'm going to show you how to get out of here. Walked him through our living room. My roommates were like, getting ready to beat his ass. I was like, no, I got this. Walked him right to the front door and was just like, hey, you know what? No harm, no foul. He's like, can I pay you for all the stuff I broke in your living room? I was like, don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it. We got that, you know? And I got him out the front door. And for me, that was an act of unconditional love that was also self-defense, right? Because the math for me is like do as little harm as possible, which means by the time it's come to having to physically harm someone, you better have tried every goddamn thing besides that. Otherwise, are you really acting from love? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was speaking of firearms. I'm sorry, Omar. Go ahead. I apologize, brother.
No. The only thing I'd want to say is what I think you did in that situation, legit, was more logical than emotional.
Well, I was definitely feeling emotions. I tell you that right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And
I
my emotions were part of it. It was just like my emotions were they were literally, I was feeling so much unconditional love that my capacities became that much more powerful. The logic behind it was just the math, but I wasn't thinking about anything logically. It was all emotional. It was just that's where I was calibrated at. Like for instance,
you think about
for instance, okay, I got jumped. Okay, I got jumped a few years ago. Not a few years ago. It was like 2013, I think it was. Dude runs up behind me. 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming back from work. I'm exhausted. Dude comes around the corner, bushwhacks me, pushes me down. Boom, pushes me hard. So I go sprawling forward, skidding forward, you know, because he pushed me hard. And he flips me over, immediately starts beating on me. Bit. And all I could think about was like, why doesn't this hurt? why don't these punches hurt? It doesn't make sense to me. And I was like, why am I not scared right now? And I wasn't thinking logically. It's like I was observing. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. This dude's punches are just bouncing off my face, and I feel like super calm and in love. And I looked down, and this all happening real slow, and I realized, I was like, this poor dude is squatting right over my legs. I could kick this dude so hard in the nuts right now that he literally would fly over me into like the thorn bush. Like, I could fuck this dude up so bad, but I just, because of the work I'd done to get to that place in life, I could feel nothing but compassion. It's like, this poor man is so desperate for whatever I got in my pockets that he's willing to put his own life at risk for like, I might only have $20 in my wallet. His life is worth so little to himself that he's willing to put his life at risk. And I ended up getting that dude tied up in his own fucking sweatshirt, holding him like a puppet while he was like, just like, you know? And he was like, and I remember I was like, how do I don't want to hurt this dude, but he's so focused on doing violence to me, I don't know. So I was like, okay, I got to impact him somehow. And I don't want to hurt him. But I love him and I love me, and I can see where this is going. It's going to cause more harm than good. So I have to impact him. So I took him and I went poof against the wall. Like hard. Like, I need this dude. He's all tied up. So I shoved him and I pulled this shit over his face and wrapped it around his arm. So his sweatshirt had him tied up. He couldn't see shit. Smacked him against the wall. Not as hard as I could, but enough so it would impact his whole nervous system. Just like reset it. And so as soon as I did that, he pushed up against me. As soon as he pushed up against me, I just used his momentum to bring him right down on the ground, sat on his ass, sat on his chest. And I looked down at him, and he looked up at me, we made eye contact, and all I saw was fear. So much fear in his eyes. And my heart responded on a deeply emotional level with nothing but love. I almost wanted to start crying. I was like, the amount of love I felt for this traumatized young person, so clearly willing to throw their life away for nothing. And I looked at him, I said, like, bro, I don't want to hurt you at all. If I let you up, will you stop hurting me? And he said, yes, I absolutely will. And I was like, cool. So I let him up. So when you say it's logical, I just have to disagree with you. Oftentimes, in my life, the greatest acts of unconditional love and courage, there's no logic behind it at all. It's only after the fact do we piece together the logic, you know?
Yeah, real quick, I don't want to get too far away. I just want to respond. So in the initial story, you said you broke down how if he went down the ladder, he would have been trapped, and someone is very dangerous when they have their back against a wall. That is a purely logical thought, right?
But that was not a logical thought in the moment. Again, it was after the fact when I was like going through the inventory of like, whew, this situation is over. Let me now logically analyze what just happened. And I was like, okay, that's why I made this choice. That's why I made this choice. That's why I made this choice. But it was absolutely not logical. If I had been trying to think about it in both of those instances, if I had been trying to think about it, I would have been frozen. I wouldn't have been able to act. I would have been hesitating. Is this the right move or not? I don't know, you know?
Yeah, and I was going to say this, like, Omar, a lot of times a person that thinks from they from their heart, it can be seen as logical when you break it down. Cause you know what I'm saying? Like, everything you say out your mouth has logic to it. Your brain had to process it to make it work. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know, he didn't act out of like, so like, is this the best thing to do? Do I have to think? And even sometimes logic don't take you to have to sit back and think so hard. Maybe you're just a person of logic. It just comes easy. But for him, I can tell it's definitely an emotional way where he came from. He seen the person. He felt for the person. Instead of logically, things are broken. You break into my house. His mans was thinking logically, like, oh, you need to get beat real quick. You just rolled up in my house. But he sat back and was like, oh, I feel for you, bro. You're scared. You're hurt right now. That's an emotional thinker instead of a logical thinker, I would say, for sure. You know what I'm saying?
I would say
hold on, guys, hold on. So Robert, Playerboy says, I just remembered something about my mom. She almost killed herself, and I was worried about her. She said it was because I was mad at her. Did I read that right, Rob?
She drinks the water.
Yes, I did. So your mom thought you were mad at her, and so she wanted to hurt herself because of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So her so her perspective of you loving her. Let me see if I can wrap my brain around this. So her perspective of needing to know that you loved her was so strong that she felt that if you didn't love her, her life was forfeit.
Yeah.
Damn. What do y'all think about that dynamic? How would you map that? How would you define that? Or
Damn. Do we have a term for that? Because I don't think
I don't
that's
know. I'm trying to think about that. Chat. What do y'all think about that? Put it in chat. I'm trying to think of that dynamic. It's like, you know what? It sounds like codependency. But go ahead, Johnny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real quick. I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier because like violence became part of the conversation. De-escalation is paramount. So I talked about earlier how my friend and I, we have firearms. And I have my concealed carry permit. I don't carry anymore. He does. So we have training and stuff like that. It's all de-escalation. Like you never, even when evil and violence comes to you, your immediate reaction is not to eliminate, right? You need to de-escalate first because maybe it's not that severe yet, right? So de-escalation and like being a calming presence is paramount. Anytime there's a encounter like that. We don't choose violence first. At some point, it becomes an option, but there's many steps before that happens. I just want to make that clear to everybody because we were talking about violence earlier. That is not the first option ever, right. But at some point, it does become an option, unfortunately.
I mean, right. But if you look at, and this is what I would put forth for consideration, if you look at violence as just the inhibition of somebody's choice, because if we define violence strictly as physical damage, that allows us to that allows us to just excuse tons of other forms of violence. Mm-hmm. So like that's why I'm like, the inhibition of choice is really I think the safest way to define violence, and it puts all of us on the hook. Every single one of us,
right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So emotional invalidation is one of the most common forms of trauma in society, and that is a form of violence. Emotional invalidation hurts people deeply. It causes so many long-term problems. When you tell people to go to therapy, like, homie, are you in therapy? Like, I don't need to go to therapy. Listen, everybody should be in fucking therapy. It's not just for crazy people, man. Everybody should be in therapy. We've all been hurt by society. We've all been hurt by the people that love us. We've all been invalidated and traumatized unintentionally by the people that love us. They just don't know what they do, man. Just like it says, they know not what they do, right? What Jesus said on the cross, they know not what they do, right? It's true about those that love us. They know not the harm they do. Like, I know my interactions with my girlfriend, sometimes I'm not always a being of love and light. Sometimes I can be a little nasty unintentionally. I don't mean to harm her. That's the last thing I want to do, but,
Yeah. If we're talking about religious figures, one of the things that you brought up, Omar, you look at like Christ or Buddha. From my understanding of both of those figures, those identities, both of them would say like you cause no harm, period. Jesus most certainly didn't defend himself when he got crucified. And, there's plenty of parallels in Buddhism of people taking on unconditional love even when others are harming them. So I would, I don't think it's better or worse, but when you talk about not harming others and allowing them to harm you and still maintaining unconditional love, I don't want to invalidate what you're talking about, because I would say there are some circumstances where that might be appropriate. Look at Martin Luther King. Motherfucker knew he was going to die. He knew. He even said it in his speeches. Probably won't see you on that mountaintop. Probably not gonna be there with y'all, but we're going there. And it's not that he allowed himself to be killed, but he knew he was in a position where people wanted to do great harm to his ass, and they did great harm to his ass, right? So I didn't want to like push aside the powerful statements you were bringing about that earlier, Omar, just for the record, Rob Playerboy says, I don't understand my family. But Rob, you also brought forth that you love them no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to understand them to love them, but you can also speak about the love that you want, right? Okay, so by the way, we're rolling up on 2.5 hours right now, so I do want to bring this to a close, and chat is slowly dwindling. So let's come to final points and goodbyes. What do you want to leave this conversation with, each of you? Rob, I'm going to ask you first, and while you're writing that out, what you want to leave, what you want to say goodbye, like what statement you want to say. While you're putting that down, while you're writing that with your eyes, I'm going to go to the next person. Omar, what do you want to leave the conversation with? I
would say that choose love regardless of how radical it may seem to you, love is a very difficult emotion. It's certainly easier to hate than it is to love. So when you're in a situation and your emotions are flaring up, try your best to choose love, because choosing hate is so easy.
Looks like Gbear has stepped away for a minute. So, Johnny, I'll go to you. What do you want to say? What's your final parting statement in this conversation?
I'm a mental health patient. I've been an assistant for a number of years. I found great wellness in psychedelics. Psychedelics are demonized. There's a misunderstanding greatly in society about them. When done correctly, it's an experience of love and compassion and tranquility, and it's so healing. I'm not telling you to go out and do drugs. I'm just presenting a message as my experience dictates. With the mental health side of things, everybody should be in therapy for at least a little bit. Even if you think you're balanced and well and everything, I promise you things have happened to you in your life where you should probably talk to somebody about it. Therapy can be so beneficial to so many people who just don't understand. They're afraid to go and talk about the things that are going on inside their heads, and the things they won't even tell their partner about. That's what you do in therapy, right? So mental health is a huge challenge in this country. Psychedelics are a tool to get well. Therapy is a tool to get well. So thank you for listening. I'm Johnny. Be well, brothers.
Blessings. Gbear, what is your parting statement that you want to say as we end this?
My parting statement, I feel like I kind of said it just as far as the love everyone. Just love, man. It's not as hard as we all think it is. It can be painful. Basically going to you. It can be painful and it can cause problems, but that's just how we learn as people. We know this violence out here, and if love is what's causing you the violence, I think you got it pretty easy. Come on now, let's go ahead and step out of our people. I love you.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Okay, so Rob is still typing. So while we're waiting for him to formulate his parting statement,
you better watch.
This is what I'll say. That loving ourselves and each other are equal parts of the equation, because at the end of the day, there is far less that separates us than connects us. Okay? So loving others unconditionally and radically, and loving yourself unconditionally and radically simultaneously, is where we can build feedbacks of power. And that feedback loop is going to take courage. It's going to take communication. It's going to take discipline and commitment. And all the things that Chat was talking about, which was a lot. And so when it comes to loving yourself and loving others, I just ask everybody to be brave with yourself, with others, be patient with yourself and with others, and to be compassionate with each other and yourselves. That's how I want to leave it. So Rob is still typing, and we're gonna not cut him off. Do you guys want to do any shout outs while we're waiting for Rob to provide his closing statement?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to DMT for being a blessing, to being such a healing product, to delivering me to wellness, because I am a very troubled man. I have a lot of trauma. I have bipolar 1. I've truly found wellness with DMT. It is an antidepressant, and it is a magical drug.
It's not just DMT either. It's also
no, it's not.
Psilocybin.
No, it's not.
Psilocybin.
That's right.
Scientifically proven to heal PTSD.
Yeah.
Help with alcoholism. Help with addiction.
Yep. That's very true, man. Psilocybin, LSD.
I thought you were talking about me or something.
No. DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Yeah. It's magical. It's absolutely magical.
It is. It is true.
I want to try that, man. Dang.
I hope you get to, man. It's amazing.
I'm scared, though.
No, that's fair. Yeah, it should be respected. It's very powerful. It shakes your world when you do it, man. It really does. Like, first time you go in, it's fucking intense, homie. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to approach it with respect. If you don't,
absolutely.
If you don't, you can literally damage yourself.
Yeah. So what we do, what me and my friends do, like before we go in, like we just take a deep breath and we gather ourselves. And some of my friends even do meditation for minutes beforehand. You center yourself. You push the thoughts out of your mind. You let yourself be free of thought in a pure meditative state. Then you take the device, you take your hit, and you just close your eyes and you sit back. And about 10 minutes later, you open your eyes. You have tears of joy, and then you tell us about your experience. And can I share one of my friends' experiences?
Yeah, please.
So I introduced one of my friends to DMT for the first time. He's a young man who's been through a lot of physical trauma, a lot of physical abuse in his life. He's small. The world has abused him physically because he's small, and there's predators out there who do shit like that. And so on this experience, as I administered it, he did exactly like I said. He centered himself. He meditated. He took his hit. He sat back, closed his eyes, and then towards the end of the trip, like 6 minutes or 7 minutes went by. He leaned forward. He started crying, and of course, I'm sitting there with him because I'm the shaman. I'm with my brother, and there's like 10 or 12 of us standing around, right, and sitting, and nobody's talking. There's gentle music playing. This is the proper setting for an experience like this. So my friend leans forward. And he starts crying. I rub his back. It's okay, little brother. He's much young. He's like 18, 19 years old. I start rubbing his back. It's okay, little brother. You're okay, man. Just gather yourself. You're all right, man. And so then he sits back and he gathers himself and he says, and he has a lot of anxiety because of his abuse and his traumas, a lot of really intense anxiety, man. And he sat back and he said, the entities were performing surgery on. I might get really upset talking about this. This always happens. Not upset, but just emotional.
Emotional, yeah, right.
Yeah. So he said the entities were inside of him performing surgery, and they rearranged the anxiety and taught him that he didn't have to be afraid anymore. God, what a blessing. Give me a second. It's
that's absolutely not the first time I've heard an experience like that.
Right. So then some of my friends write songs, and this is what they wrote: entities inside of me rearranging my anxiety. Right. Beautiful lyrics from my friend's experience. And so what did he actually? What was the experience actually about? Was his anxiety actually healed? Did these experience directly in very? No, it didn't. Not this one. Not this type of experience. What this experience did was teach him that if he works towards wellness, it's achievable.
Right.
If he works at rearranging all these anxieties, he can make the pain stop, right? That's what he learned from the experience. So he knows that wellness is achievable now, right? He's been encouraged and shown a way to be well through the entities, through his experience. And so that's the healing nature of DMT from my friend's experience. I have many more I could share. I don't want to hog the time, but that's one
podcast on this topic, honestly.
Yeah. For real. But can I ask a quick question on that? Or I'll wait till after. No, I'll wait till
let's save this juice, because this is literally a whole other episode of
for sure.
Of mining some wisdom.
Next
and Robert
time.
Playboy says this: try to be happy in your life. Love everyone. God bless everyone. Be well. Player Boy is out. Much love. Amen.
Player Boy, thank you, brother.
All right,
God
y'all.
bless you, man.
Thank you.
I'm gonna call this episode. Thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to continuing this conversation to where we've taken it as we end. You know what I mean? So bless y'all,
thanks, guys.
and I will bless y'all in chat. Thanks for rolling in. I'm really grateful for all you guys' input. All right, I'm going to deafen you all and go to just chatting thing. All right, so everybody that's still here in chat, thank you so much for showing up. I know some of y'all just showed up a little bit late. This is an ongoing podcast that we're going to be doing every Sunday. I'll spoiler alert. At the end of the day, every single one of these podcasts is about love. It will always be about love. I think it's probably the most important topic in our world right now. And those of you that showed up to speak on it and speak on the challenges and the nuances and all the different ways we can approach this, thank you so much. I love you all very much. And I hope you all